this workshop of the Arundel Planning Board to order today, July 6, 2017 at 7 p.m. We're in the Mildred L. Day School. Start with a roll call.
Ronnie Kane.
Jamie Lowry. Roger Moore.
Rich Canong.
Chip Bassett.
Tom McGinn.
Tad Rutherford, planner.
We have approval of the agenda. There are 2 items currently on the agenda, and we need to add 2 items to it. The 2 items that are on here are ordinance revisions. One is the campground performance standards proposal by Bentley Warren to modify the land use ordinance. The other one is discussion of marijuana and the pending legislation. The 2 items that we have to add are that according to our bylaws, we're supposed to have elections today, the first meeting in July. So we need to have elections. And then the town clerk, Sam Wessenoff, has some points of reference.
Well, your information on your marijuana, you wanted to know about straw polling?
Yes,
I have that information.
so she has some information that we can use from that point of view.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I ask a question?
sure.
If this is a workshop,
Mm.
is that distinct from a meeting?
Yes,
I did not think so. I don't know.
yes.
No, it's a meeting.
I thought that it was a meeting because it doesn't say a regularly scheduled meeting, it just says a meeting.
Okay.
The first meeting,
Yeah,
first meeting in July.
Okay. Just curious.
so I would suggest that,
No, Mr. Chairman,
yes, Marty?
if that's the case, what you're trying to put through instead of putting it through until the next meeting, what you had asked me, so what's the status then?
This raises an interesting dilemma, and we'll have to discuss this. The Board of Selectmen have not reappointed Marty. He hasn't been brought up before them for a discussion point. I was looking at the last 2 minutes that are online for the Board of Selectmen, and there is nothing there. And the town manager is unavailable, so I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. We'll have to have that discussion as to whether or not Marty should be sitting here at the table if he has not been appointed. He was appointed for a 1-year term last year, and the term expired on June 30th.
Question,
Yeah, Marty?
I think if with Simone there, okay, last year, it might have expired, but last year, we also had meetings going on until she presented for re-signatures, and it was after that date.
And you're right, it was.
So, I mean, on that basis, and we didn't do elections until that night after it was reappointed.
Have you heard anything from Keith, one way or the other?
I know I mentioned it to him at the beginning of June when we were talking about town meeting, about renewing the appointments. We renewed the annual appointments of the town for like code enforcement, things like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we have to review the the committees to see who needs to be renewed, and that hasn't taken place yet.
Okay.
So, it's not on Monday's agenda unless Keith adds it, Monday morning. I'm not sure if he can try to, but usually, he contacts people that are ready for renewal to make sure they wanna be renewed, so I think that's a little bit
Last
later
year.
this year.
Last year, they never did, never contacted us, because at that time, it was John Kinder and myself,
Yeah, it was,
okay?
it was late.
Mm.
before
And
that.
I have already contacted him personally to find out what the status was, and he says it wasn't on his priority list, and he hasn't gotten around to it.
My 2 cents worth, we're already down by 1 member and we're not finding volunteers to join us. I hate to lose a second one and have 2 empty seats.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just looking at it going, the bylaws, this is what the bylaws say. and there's nothing,
I would suggest that since this isn't a regular meeting, it's a workshop meeting, that you postpone your election of officers until the regular meeting. And maybe by that time, we'd have resolved some of this.
I like that.
does that work for everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also take the approach of serve, hold until relieved.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've done that
That
before.
work for you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
So we'll
I,
strike the proposed item number 3?
we can take item number 3 off. We have a sidewalk on Saturday, I want Marty to show up.
I can stay home, you know. I don't care if,
No, I want you to show up if you're too willing to stay home,
We're gonna need a digital thing next year.
okay?
and that way we won't have a quorum.
So we only have 2 items on the agenda. So,
We have 3. What I would like to do, if it's okay with everybody else, because Sim is in another meeting, she's in the Historical Society, if she could talk to us about marijuana and put her on the very first item.
absolutely.
Okay? Okay, so we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion we approve the agenda with the understanding that Simon Bosno will be addressing the planning board as the first item on the agenda. Second?
Motion has been made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yeah.
It is unanimous. Sim,
Okay.
please tell us.
Well, you had mentioned something about a referendum in November. A referendum would require you to have the article written and have it ready to be adopted to do a referendum, but you can do a straw poll. I've copied these notes are from Maine Municipal, just for your information, and basically it explains that the straw poll is pretty much conducted in the same manner as a referendum. It has to be put on a warrant so that people know that it will be voted on, so just like a town meeting vote. You can't bring something up at town meeting without having it on the warrant, or it's considered not an article of business. And that would be the same thing for the November election. If you wanted to put an article for a straw vote, you know, the selectmen would just have to basically put an article in the warrant saying that we're gonna do a straw poll and, you know, at the polling areas, and then hold a public hearing on it and whatever, so that basically you'd conduct it the same way as a regular election with ballots, absentee voting, polling areas, and it explains all of that in there. It's still not, it's not a binding, straw poll is not a binding vote, but it's more like a survey, but it's an official survey because it's put on a warrant, and so people know that it's coming up. Another suggestion I had was, I looked on the past, this November is not a big election, so you're not gonna have a gubernatorial or presidential, so the voter turnout, I looked at the past 3 elections that were not on like a large election with candidates, when it's just the state bonds or referendum questions. In 2015, we had 420 voters. In 2013, we had 497. And this past June, we had the referendum, the state referendum, along with municipal and RSU, and we only had 246. Wendy and I were talking in the office after you came in. Another option that we were thinking that you might be interested in is we can, last year, if you remember right, when we have the option when we do the tax bills of putting in a one-page insert that can be on both sides. Last year we did kind of a little mini newsletter and inserted it in with the tax bill. It doesn't cost us additional for mailing. I think they charge us for the copies, which is minimal on that. It's not even what it would cost us in-house to photocopy. And it goes into every tax bill. And Wendy and I thought that, you know, in a way, if you're concerned about people, you could do it on colored paper so that it's not the same paper as white, so that people aren't photocopying it and making, somebody that's in favor of something will make 10 copies and vote 10 times. You could request either the real estate or personal property number be, you know, part of your survey, just to have an idea of that this person is not responding 10 times with, you know, 10 different accounts or whatever. But it would go to every business as well that has a tax bill. So not only do you have your voters' opinions, but you'll have your opinions of people who have a business that might not necessarily be voting in town. And it would go to all landowners, it would go to all people in campgrounds get it for personal property tax, so your summer people that might be affected by having, you know, marijuana facilities nearby might have an opinion as well. You're talking at least, it would go out in probably about, I think on average, say 1,700 mailings would receive a copy of the survey. So I think you know, if people are really concerned about marijuana, I think you would get a pretty good response out of a survey that's not just mailed to each household, but mailed to every taxpayer in Arundel. A lot of times people do complain about that. The businesses don't get to vote at November elections because they don't live in town, but they own a business in town, which might impact them if there's a marijuana, you know, bar or marijuana retail facility right next to them. So that's just a suggestion as well. So you have the option of doing a straw poll, which is non-binding, to get, you know, survey answers, or insert a survey into every tax bill, real estate and personal property, and have that go out that way as well.
Do you have any idea how many email addresses the town has for the residents and the people in town?
I don't.
Okay.
No, have no
I know that you can sign up, I just didn't know.
Yeah,
how many
I'm
people.
sure either Tad or the town manager might have access to that, I don't know, but I have no clue on emails.
Because I was thinking we could do, depending on how big it is, you can do Survey Monkey for 10
Right,
questions.
and that's another option, if you could send out the printed survey and maybe say, if you don't wanna return it by mail, you could put the Survey Monkey address and say, enter your real estate or personal property account number. And then, you know, that way you're kinda limiting how many people can get into, cause you might be able to get into that Survey Monkey, you know, my laptop and my home computer and, you know what I mean, my friend's
Yeah.
computer. But that's another option as well.
Okay.
Sim,
Mhm.
question to ask you on that. If you put your real estate or anything else on there,
Mhm.
what happens if people own multi-properties? Are they, I mean, I'm just,
It's a possibility, and
can
they
they
could
turn
pass-
and use,
they
do it
could,
twice if they have,
sure,
under the real estate ID,
Yeah.
number, I mean,
yeah. But you could, you know, you would only vote as many times as you have parcels, which, you know.
yeah, I mean,
A lot.
Yeah.
and then the next question is, when do the tax bills actually?
They go out, it would go out, usually it's the end of August, beginning of
Okay,
September
so
the latest.
August, so that
So
it
you
would
have it
give them,
sooner.
it would give them more of a briefing instead of, before the vote, which would be in November, that's what
Well,
I.
that's up to you, you'll be doing it twice if you do it in November as well. So unless you just wanna make it a newsletter thing that you put in there, and, you know,
This way you would catch everybody, if it was out in August,
right,
before everybody snowbirds and
Mhm.
left or anything else, that's
Yeah.
what I was
yeah,
inquiring.
right.
Thank you.
Okay, if you have any questions, like I said, it's non-binding, but it is conducted in the same manner as a referendum election, basically, as far as handling the ballots and handling everything, and,
And then I thought, you know, if we have public meetings, don't get that many people.
no,
I was surprised the newspaper said we had 100 people at the town meeting.
we did, we had 95 voters.
The other thing is, if it was put under November type, how soon can somebody obtain an absentee ballot? If they were going to be out of town, that's why I'm asking that.
You can apply for an absentee ballot 3 months before the election, as far as filling out a request to have one mailed to you, for any election, 3 months before. They become available 30 days before, so anybody can either, you know, come in and request it to vote right there 30 days before, other than that. But if they file an application 3 months before, when we get the ballots and they're available 30 days before, they get mailed right at that 30-day period, and they get mailed out.
Okay, that's why
And
I
that's for every
was just
election.
thinking of your snowbirds, some of them leave,
Yeah.
you know,
But
before
then the
that.
thing is, if they don't know that you're having the straw poll in
Correct.
November, they probably wouldn't request
Right,
part of the survey then, you know, so, is, you
just
know.
for information, thank you.
Okay. Anybody have anything else? Any questions for Sim? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. First item. Section 3.2 and 9.3.10, campground performance standards. I have a proposal by Bentley Warren III to modify the Arundel land use ordinance to establish a time limit for seasonal campground operations and to permit the year-round storage of RV park models and similar vehicles on campsite grounds. You should all have received something from the town planner. It came out, it was yesterday.
Well, you have two items, Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yes,
You have
please,
a
I'm sorry.
submission by Rick Light, which is due June first, and that includes the rationale as well as the proposed language changes in the ordinance. And then you have the staff review of that and several other issues. So those are the two documents that you got.
Okay.
I also sent you a document from the Park Model RV manufacturing, basically the Park Model Industry Association. And they gave a short description and specification of park models. So those who are not familiar with them, they give you the information that you needed on that. And I think I also put a photograph of a park model in your staff notes as well.
Yes, you did.
To the chair,
Yeah, Marty.
why was it the old ordinance, which was in place at one time or another, why was it, put to bed or dissolved?
Marty, I couldn't tell you. That happened,
And I don't know when.
happened a long time ago. I'm not sure exactly when it occurred, but it's gotta be 10 years ago? I don't remember,
that's-
because I don't remember the old ordinance.
Yeah,
That's why I-
2003.
I'm sorry, was it
It was 2003.
2003, 14 years ago? I don't know, you were on the board then.
Yeah, but my crystal ball isn't shining that well. It's kind of fuzzy, that's why I asked. I
Yeah.
mean, when it was, I don't even know a date, that's why I was asking the question.
I don't think any of us, well, Roger was on the board then.
And Tom is on the board too.
Okay. Do you remember why those changes were made, Tom?
No, I've
Okay.
been trying to think. My only guess is, afraid of year-round. It was before we had seasonal cottages all, worked out. I think we were afraid that it might be year-round with kids in the schools and, but that's just a guess.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
was just wondering how the old ordinance read, I mean, that's why. If I know when to go look, I might be able to try to find a copy of the old. Because I don't think we have anything in record, do we, anywhere, Mr. Planner?
I would imagine that the town clerk has every ordinance that was ever passed by the town. So she would have a record of it somewhere. She's your authority on that. Because the town clerk is required to keep copies of all ordinances and ordinance changes over the years. It's somewhere back in the vault, and she can retrieve that. So,
That's why I was just inquiring.
yeah. Was there anything in particular you were looking for in the old ordinance?
How it read, just in generally how it read. I mean, for one, and then wondering why it was put to bed.
Don't know.
That's,
I don't think that will be in there either, we'll just have the ordinance. Unless you go back in old minutes of the planning board, which are not due.
but that might give us an idea when it was repealed, old minute somewhere else along the way.
Right.
Well, so,
I'm
what do we
not,
want it to be?
yeah, I'm not sure that it's relevant
Yeah.
given that we have a current ordinance that we're looking to make a change to, I'm not sure that whatever it was that happened more than 15 years ago would be relevant. So you guys have looked at the proposal. Some of the concerns that I would have indicate that there will not be wheels on these units. They're gonna become fixed structures.
Not fixed, no. Not fixed structures, no.
You're gonna leave the wheels on.
Well, probably take the wheels off and lay them under it just to get it lower to the ground and put it on blocks, which is what we usually do. What
Okay.
most campgrounds do. You know, they move the wheels around, but they just, it's a trailer or whatever with the wheels, with a chassis on it, basically.
If I might, through the chair, we had submitted our draft of May 31st some language and looked for any feedback. And we submitted a subsequent change we thought to make it clear, to remove the consideration that says at the end of the statement, bear with me for a second here, that must remain, in order to be considered as a vehicle, not as a structure, the unit must be mounted on a chassis. I've talked to Tad, and we want to leave that in to make it clear that it has to be on a chassis. So
Okay.
leave that language in as it is today.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute, the way it is today is it's on wheels.
So in order to be considered as a vehicle and not as a structure, the unit must be mounted on a chassis.
That's your proposal.
But the ordinance references,
Yeah, the current ordinance references wheels. Oh, that's it's under definition.
Yes,
Through the chair, if I may,
yeah,
it seems to me that we are creeping up on a line between a campground and a modular structure development.
But legally, they are different. They're not HUD regulated.
Yeah, you
Well,
can't put it on
I understand they're not HUD regulated, but it just, that seems just sort of, you know, for the 10,000-foot view, that seems to be what we're doing, is tiptoeing up to
Can't see you, Dave.
Mr. Chairman, a line there between a campground where people are bringing in camping equipment and taking it away, and a facility where the owner of the facility has, in effect, permanent units that stay there for multiple years, stay in one place for multiple years, aren't registered, don't have wheels on them. And I think that's a different, to me, that is a different animal.
I think a closer analogy would be to seasonal cottage regulations where.
let me get to Mr. Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Berg, I own the Red Apple Campground, but beyond that, I serve on the Maine Campground Owners Board of Directors, and I have for 17 years. I also serve on the Regional Board of Directors from Maryland to Maine, and I also serve on the National Board of Campground Owners, and I'm very familiar with the issues that we're talking about. I was on the National Board for 9 years, and I was timed out, and I was chairman of the board. My time's gone by, and I'm back on the board again. And what I would offer to your office, if you'd ever like to see it, is 1194, which is NFPA, which 1194 is all about campgrounds. And there's a big difference between, so I'm here not just, as Tad has said, that this clearly is require all new campgrounds, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not gonna be a new campground, but I'm here on behalf of all campground owners. Because it's a big difference between a tiny home, HUD homes, mobile homes. An RV, by law, has to be 400 square feet or less and carry an RVIA sticker. There's a big difference there. Park models, and I have many of them in my park, that are seasonal. And we have all kinds of definitions, and this is what the national uses. We take this to many towns, and we have people on our staff at National that we even have people on these boards. They sit on these boards. Apartmental trailer is a trailer-type unit that's primarily designed to provide temporary living quarters for recreational camping or seasonal use. 3.3.9. 3.3.16, recreational vehicles. A vehicle or sliding camper is primarily designed as temporary living quarters for recreational camping or seasonal use. Apart model shall meet the following criteria. It has to have a gross trailer area not exceeding 400 square feet. That's true in every state in the union except Florida. Florida allows 500 square feet, and I happen to own one in Florida, it's 500 square feet. So, in all due respect to Mr. Bassett, we're not trying to creep anywhere. If you get to 401 square feet, it's not an RV. A campground can only have RVs in it. I don't want mobile homes, I don't want HUD homes, and it's, neither do you, apparently, and that's clear to me. I have found a few, if I may continue, I have found a few differences of opinion with Tad, and knows I respect him highly. But I was kind of surprised at some of the 6 items that he admits are assumptions why changes were made in 2003. And the first one could be limited occupancy duration of campsites to ensure regular turnover of guests. Was the intent to ensure that campgrounds accommodate a greater number of guests and introduce the merits to Arundel to a broader audience? I find that kind of hard to believe that that would be the reason. Number 2, it states that RV campers and apartmental RVs are motor vehicles that must be registered with the home state Department of Motor Vehicles and therefore are not subject to property or excise tax in the town of Arundel. Not true, and on page 3, he says the opposite. As a matter of fact, each individual town determines if they want to charge excise tax or not. It's not a law, but it is a law that on April 1st, not November, as is stated, anyone who is in my campground or any campground in the state of Maine must report it to the town of Arundel, in this case, which we do. And we give them not only the information that you speak of one campground that provides all this information, well, there's at least 2. There's only 3 in town, but there's 2 that do it, because I was asked to show the second one when it opened how I did it, and he does it the same way. We provide all the information to the town, and once upon a time I had over $1 million valuation that was added to my tax, my property, that creates over $1 million of tax valuation, for my seasonals who pay personal property tax to the town. I said excise, I meant personal property tax. Every town and state does not do it, there's many that don't, and I hear it all the time in my board meetings, but Arundel does. And it used to be, you had to register it or pay personal property tax, whichever was cheaper. And Simone would work with you to figure that out. But somewhere along the line, I can't tell you when, since I've been in town, they changed that. The law allows them to charge personal property tax if it's sitting on my property on April 1st. So every single person not only gets a tax bill and pays it, when they sign a contract with the Red Apple Campground, it's right in there that they must pay the town of Arundel their assessed valuation under personal property tax, or they're out of my park. So not only do I give you all the information, if they don't pay, they're out. And I tell the tax collector, if they don't pay, you come tell me, I'll pay it for them, and believe me, they'll pay me. So we're all in this together. My point is, if I chose to be strictly overnight, or really short term, as you'd like it to be, as I'm taking Tad's suggestion, you'd get none. 0 additional tax dollars. Now I've shrunk my number of seasonals, because I can make more money in overnights, down to like 80. I used to have 120 when I bought the place. Now I only have 80, so it only adds $728,000, 615 this coming year. Because as they stay, they go down a little bit each year. So it was higher, but I have less seasonals now than I had before. So it's a plus to the town to get additional taxation. Clearly, everybody has it in my park, and I know everybody does it in his park, and they does it the same way. So number 2 is off the, was it to intend to prevent overburden of schools and social service, emergency service? Absolutely. I think that would be a real good reason. I don't think it's good to have a 12-week limitation, because my park has been here since the late 70s. I've only owned it for 20 years. But I think I'm a pretty good steward of Arundel. And we have a neat place, we go by the rules, we make them pay their taxes. or they can't even stay in my park, and we pay the taxes for them if they don't. And the law allows you to come after the owner, by the way, where it was sitting. If they don't pay it, you can come after me. I volunteer to pay it. Campground density. I'm not sure why you would do that, because to suggest that in item 4, that the reason they did it was so that we couldn't avoid the payment of property taxes, I just explained that in item 2, we do pay personal property taxes, the same rate that everyone else pays. Number 5 speaks to tiny house villages, possibly, that they didn't want. Tiny house villages, 2003, was not even a name we ever heard. It wasn't on the Travel Channel, and nobody knew what tiny house was back then. And some people who have nearby just opened a campground are pushing tiny houses. They're park models, they're RVs. We have problems all across the country at our National Association with tiny houses, because they're not built to any ANSI standards, they're not built to RBA standards, they're just put anything you can in a little tiny house and call it a tiny house. RVs, park models, and tiny houses never belong in the same sentence.
Dave, could I interrupt?
Sure.
These are just musings. They were
But-
not, they were, no, wait a second. These are just musings that were intended basically to speculate on why in the world would you come up with occupancy limitations that strict in our ordinance?
I respect your opinion, but I don't have to agree with it.
Well, I know, but
But because at
I
the
think
end
it's
you
kind of
say,
immaterial to the whole subject, because I'm not sure
how is it immaterial when it's your opinion to this board? And when you get to the end, it says it's up to this board, if any of these reasons cited above are valid enough to continue the current regulatory practices, or change the LUO to conform to current standards in other more densely developed communities. Why would we want to be like other more densely developed communities?
that's the question for the planning board, isn't it? It's trying to find out what the motivation for
And I'm trying to find
restrictions.
holes in your motivation.
Okay, well,
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Chip.
First of all, I greatly appreciate your commentary.
right.
I think it was worthwhile. Second of all, I don't really care why the ordinance was changed in 2003 to what it is. What I care about is what the ordinance is right now and the changes that are being requested to be made to it. And so, to me, trying to go in the Wayback Machine and guess what somebody was doing 14 years ago, I don't care. I literally don't care. I think we just look at what we've got now and what makes sense to us and try to move forward. I think in the course of your discussion that you brought up some very good points, which we all need to consider. But I think we just let this, let points 1 through 6 go, with a possible exception of number 3, which is, you know,
Pretty important.
that's the one that's important to me.
Number 3 was
and-
part of our discussion on seasonal cottages, which is why they can't stay there year-round.
And I will also say that I've been familiar with your campground as, I don't know if it's as old as I am, but,
It was brought in the late 70s, 78, I think.
yeah, it was, okay, it's about when we moved up here permanent, but I've got land that runs almost to the center road across the street from me. So I've seen it, and the campground's actually improved over the years,
I hope.
if anything. No, it's improved nicely. So,
So if I can hit if I can get beyond the 6 and still comment about what's on the table with Mr. Warren, I appreciate it. A couple things for the current stay. Imagine if you had a camper and you wanted to go camping for a month. You couldn't do it. It's unreasonable. I use my part as an example. The part about taking the tires off. Again, I'm a campground before these rules, but I'm not going to deny anything. We take the tires off, lower them down on some units. Sometimes we just dig out the ground so they spin. So you talked about articulating. You can have a bouncy house because you're walking on 4 tires, or you can lift them off the ground so it's solid and it doesn't bounce. That's why we do it. And 90% of my seasonals have done that. but I don't see where that causes a problem. They can't have kids here. And we have 10 parks in the state of Maine that we represent, in the Maine Campground Association, are year-round. I don't wanna be year-round. I work 7 days a week, sometimes 8 days a week, and I have a day off in October, by choice, I'm not complaining. But we have 10 people in the state who do have winter camping. If they wanna have their thing, I would never want you to have permanent residences, so it doesn't affect item 3 that Mr. Redway wrote about. But you still could have year-round camping if somebody wanted to open a campground and let people come in and do, there's all kinds of winter activities, and we could use a little more money around town in the wintertime, because all of us that have campgrounds leave. And I would just ask that going forward, I know I talked to the planner this past year that you had intentions during the winter to go over, review all campground things. Well, there's 3 of us in town, and we all go south in the winter. I would ask that if you ever wanted to try to revise those, that you do it in season, so we can come and assist you and give you national standards to go by, and anything we can do to help you make the town of Arundel better, we're all interested in that. We just like to see you be reasonable on lengths of stays and what we can do to make quality campgrounds.
We weren't really looking at doing anything in terms of length of stay other than saying that after November 1st, that the campground is closed, that there are not people staying there, because we don't want people wintering over.
Through the chair, I would actually respectfully disagree with you on that. So at present, a stay is limited to 12 weeks, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
12 weeks from May 15th to October 15th, then 2 weeks per site
Okay, but
thereafter, and you could go through the winter.
during the season that matters, it's limited to 12 weeks. And I personally would like to throw it over to the board. Why? Why do we care how long you're there? If someone wants to have, forget what the season is, whether it starts May 15th or April 1st, whether it ends September 15th or October 31st. Why do we care if one person is occupying that space for the season? I
agree with you, Chip.
I personally, I don't see any downside. It frankly doesn't make any sense to me. I don't see what the downside is for one person being there, as opposed to forcing there to be some kind of turnover, which quite frankly isn't particularly enforceable anyway. But I guess what I'd like to, I think if we parse these things into smaller pieces, and I'm suggesting that maybe we start with that one. Forget what the season is, but what's the purpose of limiting a stay to less than the camping season?
I think the reason that in the ordinance is that the camping season is 12 weeks long, which was from May through October, which is the way the ordinance was set up, to take care of the 12 weeks. And then it allowed a 2-week buffer on the other side. I don't know, I didn't write it, I wasn't there. That's all I could think of.
Your math is off, all due respect, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
May through October,
You know, it could-
5 months.
It could very well be off. I don't claim to be a math wizard.
No,
You're a number wizard.
Just an accountant.
Just an accountant, I mean,
He does my taxes, I'm concerned.
Infernal revenue
But,
code.
I
That's a
guess,
valid point.
I wanted to, you know, bring up that point first, and then, frankly, and then go to, you know, what is the season?
Well, I think it's a valid point, because I would not want to say to somebody that was either in Bentley's or at Hemlock or at Red Apple, well, I'm sorry, you can only be here for 12 weeks. You own the unit, but you can only be here for 12 weeks. That would be a little bit much.
So
Yeah.
then there's the question of the season. Should the season be May 15, currently it's May 15 to September 15, right?
No, it's later than that.
October.
It's
Yeah.
October.
Limited.
It's
Through the chair. It's not limited, the intent is that it's supposed to be for 12 weeks and then 2 weeks on the shoulder, but it's not written that way. Technically, it could go throughout the winter. Which is where, yeah, it could, because it doesn't say you stop camping at any point, you just have to move that unit every 2 weeks outside of that 12-week season, that's the way it's written. And the reason why that we're looking at actually creating a camping season is because that's what was proposed by the applicant, to create a camping season.
Okay, well,
Okay.
let's talk about that then.
That's
If-
what they
if-
proposed, and
if-
that's
if-
what
if-
we're
If
reacting.
we have a camping season, May 15th is too late a start date, to my mind, given just what you see in traffic. I mean,
I think you guys had said May first, wasn't it?
No, it's
No,
April
April-
1st to.
April 1st,
April
okay.
1st to November 1st.
Okay,
Essentially.
to November 1st.
April 1st to October 31st is what they proposed.
Okay.
And based on, when I was a little kid, that would have been a ridiculous timetable. Nobody came here before Memorial Day, and the day after Labor Day, there were tumbleweeds, yeah, it was
Well,
gone.
if you
But
think
it's
that
changed.
if you think that is a good idea, then put it in the form of a motion,
Okay,
and we
so,
can discuss it.
okay, so I have a two-part motion. Well, I'm sorry, there's more to it, because I guess let's talk about the season. Do we want to have a season for these units, regardless of what we decide whether they can have wheels on them or not, and all that sort of
Right,
thing?
that's a whole other issue.
But just, do we want to say that between April 1st and October 31st, the campground can be open and somebody could be in a unit for that entire period of time?
Make a motion, to that effect.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, okay, so I make a motion that there be a season for campgrounds, which runs from April 1st to October 31st, and that any unit in the campground can be occupied by continuously between April 1st and October 31st. However, from November 1st until March 31st, there is no camping.
I second that motion.
Put the word RV in there, will you?
Yes, it should say camping, it should say RV.
camping.
I apologize, yes,
No,
sir.
I mean, you want that,
Yes,
you don't
yes.
want a little dumpy thing.
No. Okay,
Well, they
So-
do have tent sites.
But I meant, you have tiny homes that don't have RVIA seals
Oh,
and
no, no.
aren't built to any standard.
No, we only allow, what is proposed is only allowed RVs, park models,
That's an RV discussion.
that's a separate discussion.
Right, that is a separate
Not
discussion.
timeframe.
For the purposes of the motion,
For the
it is we're defining a camping season from April 1st to October 31st. And outside of that, camping RV occupancy is not allowed.
so I've made a motion, Roger
It's been
seconded it, and I wanted to ask Mr. Warren, does that work for you?
Yes.
Okay,
Does that work for both of you gentlemen?
Yes.
It works for me as a campground owner, but it doesn't work for me as representing all campgrounds in the state. Because you're disallowing somebody to open up a winter recreation facility, and there are currently 10 of them in the state. So I think you're hurting yourself. So I would say for Red Apple, it's perfect, because I don't want to work anymore. But I still am representing all campground owners in the state.
Okay.
So Dave,
Dave, how about to the present campgrounds in town?
I don't have any problem with it, for me.
Okay.
Dave, are the campgrounds, the 10 campgrounds in the state that do open in the winter, are they, would you characterize them as RV campgrounds?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Uh,
so it's
they
not
don't-
just for,
some people don't
say,
have deep
winter
enough
scatter
water.
camps or something.
So you don't have water or sewer in your unit.
Yeah.
Some of them do, but the majority do not. But they have their bathhouse open all the time, so they can shower there, they can go to the bathroom there, and so on and so forth, we have water there. They do have skiing and snowmobiling, some have trails, there's one right in Alfred. We have the whole list of all the
Okay.
main children.
Let me
So-
throw out,
Can I ask one follow-up question?
Go ahead.
So what I'm hearing is they would predominantly cater to a winter activity. Snowmobiling,
Absolutely,
skiing,
most
ice
people
fishing,
are
something along those
seasonals.
lines. Yep,
So they do summer stuff in the summer and winter stuff in the winter.
Yep.
I just don't wanna be one.
no, I won't.
Could those individuals that are on those sites stay there year round?
No.
Why not?
Because of reason number 3. No town wants them to stay year-round because they don't want it to be their permanent residence. We don't want to have kids in the schools, we don't want it to burden with everything that's in item 3.
And we have a building code issue, because a year-round occupancy must meet the standards in the trailer.
okay.
And obviously, RVs aren't designed for that,
Dwelling
so that's
unit,
why.
I understand the gentleman's point about there being winter campgrounds elsewhere in the state. I'm approaching this from a keep it simple approach. Just keep it simple. There's a season, you can camp there during the season. When it's not the season, nobody can be camping it.
Yep.
It's simple.
I agree. One of
So I would
those
agree-
campgrounds.
I would
Red
agree
Apple
with
doesn't
that
object to that.
Okay.
if it is RV camp.
If it is RV.
However, I wouldn't want to restrict if somebody wanted to do tent camping in the winter.
Slippery
They
slope.
don't have.
I have a friend that I went to high school with. He has lived outside of North Conway in a teepee since 1970, year round. The boy needs to be locked up.
No, you can do it.
Yes, but a TV can be very warm, and also turn into some kind of snow caves.
If there's a winter camping place in Alfred, then they can go to Alfred.
And you can also
So,
do winter
we have a-
camping in snow caves.
We have a motion that has been made and seconded to define the camping RV season from April 1st through October 31st. And there will be no uses of the facilities outside that time period. Any other discussion about it?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Maurice.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dan?
That last part just scared me a little bit.
Okay.
You said no use of facilities. I understand your intent is to camp.
Correct.
I have a hall.
As do I.
Yeah,
I use it year-round.
No,
If someone wants to have a wedding or a funeral, or, I don't charge, I give it away, but still. And I used to live there, but I don't anymore. Tore it down, and put a pool in.
no, we're specifically referencing the camping,
Camping.
the camping RV units.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for helping to clarify that. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor? It is unanimous.
see, because also, Mr. Chair, there are some places around, for an example, before May 1st, there has been other people who have come up and tried to find a place to stay, but they weren't allowed to open before May 1st, who were seeking work or anything else. And they were coming up from down south, and they couldn't find a campground even open enough to turn on to stay.
I think we're better off just keeping it contained, you know, just.
Yeah,
keep it
you're in that
simple.
containment, that's what I'm
Yeah.
referring to, Tom.
Maybe 14 years from now, we'll wonder why do we have it all winter, but for right now, I'm not hearing a big demand for it.
Because February is a hell of a month to go camping, unless you're camping outside in tents or snow caves, Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Be like that.
If we get the snowmobiles on the Eastern Trail, then we might have
Maybe
a
then,
market.
yeah.
Well, let's not look in the crystal ball for Easter Trail.
Okay, so let's continue on from here to the next point, which was wheels.
Wheels.
Well, I guess the broader question is, we now have a season. What are these things that are allowed to be occupied during the season?
RVs.
Well,
RVs and park models.
Let me throw from my experience, I just happened to spend 4 days in one, Point Sebago in one of these units, and and they must have 800 of them there, it's a big facility. But, and I've stayed other places, and it just seems to be the way, I'm still a tent camper. That's really my wife isn't, so that's why we do the.
A super glorified tent top.
Yeah,
Right there.
but this is the way the industry has moved. It's not that they're moving that way, they are that way. There are very few campgrounds over maybe 40 or 50 sites that don't have permanent park models in them. And most of them are not on wheels. I don't think I've ever noticed them.
They're still there, they're in behind the skirting,
Yeah, but.
but they're on blocks.
They're on block, right, that's what I
They're
meant,
on
most of them, they're not sitting on their wheels, they're probably still there. So whether we take them off or we jack it up, I think is immaterial, that's not moving. That's
But it
not-
still can go.
It still can go, you
Take the
just
block
put the
down,
wheels
out it
back
goes.
on, right.
If I might, and this is from your industry standard, this is from RVIA. On park models, they specifically, in their specifications, say that although they are sometimes stabilized or skirted, speaking of park models, they're designed to remain on their axles and wheels, ready for movement, and are not connected to the ground by footers or foundations or columns, although some local units of government require them to be anchored to the ground due to excessive wind loads. But they can be easily detached in minutes or with only hand tools, and they can be mobile. And that's basically the definition of a park model, according to the industry standard. So, the wheels, see, the thing about the wheels, and this is what's interesting, because we don't have any regulations in our zoning ordinance about taxation per se. But
State law.
not zoning law, it's not zoning law, so it might be taxation law, which is totally different than zoning law. But, you know, the code enforcement officer's attitude was if they are on the ground and they don't have wheels, he's gonna consider them structures. And then that will be conveyed to the, well, that's basically what he said, so we keep them on wheels, and then there's an excise tax and a personal property tax issue, and that's about it. And you report, now let me, if I may, Mr. Chairman, because I'm interested, because I tried to understand this, I talked to Beth about this. She says you guys make a report every year to her, and you give her what, the value of the unit or the
I look up, actually, it's the one thing I pass off to my wife. She looks every single unit up in the NADAguides.com,
Okay.
and we pay for all the big books.
Yep.
And we went over the formula with it was a guy from Auburn, it was a subcontractor, I don't do names very well.
Yeah.
We didn't have a full-time assessor then. I showed him all of the costs per running foot, for roofs and walls and decks, Florida rooms. The town agreed to all my formulas. We've done every one every year and give it to Beth. She sends them a bill, they pay.
Okay. So she's
But the
using-
law says I'm supposed to do that. I don't have to do it, they're supposed to do it. Each individual taxpayer under the tax law is supposed to report to the town of any town.
Right,
If they're there on April 1st, if they come in April 2nd, you don't get a dime.
right.
And I don't open to the first week of May. But people who leave their units there year round, I don't play the winter storage game, I don't charge them for that. They pay their season rent, they can stay there for free in the winter because they can't come to it. And we give them a tax bill. We give the information to Beth, and she sends them a tax bill, and they must pay it
Okay.
by law. I just give them the information, she doesn't have to come and do every single one. I hand her a disc, and she sends out the bills. He does the same thing.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
ask a question? At your two facilities, do you all own any of the units that stay on the property, or are they all owned by other parties?
In my case, 98% are owned by other parties. I do have 7.
Okay. Okay. I'm just curious, it's not a critical point. I know you own, what, 7 or 8 of the ones at your place, right?
I don't know the number exactly, that, maybe a few more, I don't know.
Yeah,
A few
yeah.
votes.
For the purpose of what
A round number, yeah.
Mr. Ganong said, for the wives that don't want to rough it out, they come and rent, they like what they see, they enjoy it, they come and become a seasonal, or they buy a house in Arundel. That's a big thing for my seasonals too. They stay here for several years, they buy the house up the street.
Well, that's not good. My wife didn't like it when I had an RV either. When I go on vacation, I stay in a hotel. I can't win.
Well, guess
Bunch
what?
of rough-ins here.
That's a high-grade RV, the motel. Only
It's
trouble
more
is it
expensive, I'll
doesn't,
tell you that.
but it doesn't have wheels.
Can I ask
Okay.
a question?
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
There was something I read in here that, where they have to be, was it a code that it has to be, on wheels? And is that
We
true?
found something here, RVIA said, it's not in NFP, National Fire Protection 1194, it's not there, I looked for it everywhere.
The
Because
RVIA, though.
I never knew about that before, so I went through this book end to end to try to find it, I couldn't find it.
Yeah, it won't be in the NFPA.
But,
That's fire protection.
it's, all it's for is comfort. If you have ever been in a trailer, RV trailer, camper trailer, you're sitting on air.
Right.
You got bounce, and when you walk, if you're big as I am especially, you got bounce, all we're doing is stabilizing them. It's just no different, you put the 4 stabilizer jacks down.
I don't think anybody's questioning the stabilizing, it's the removing the wheels to the point where the unit is immobile.
The-
Can I just ask a quick question?
Sure.
My name's Jim Wakefield, I own Hemlock Grove Campground. Would a hydraulic jack be considered a hand tool? Is that,
Yeah,
so?
well, I don't
so
know,
e-
it's
even
your
if-
industry.
Even if you remove the wheels, as long as it can be moved with hand tools, it wouldn't necessarily be a structure. I mean, it's got the chassis, it's got the axles, the tires are there, the wheels and tires are there on site. They're always stored underneath, 9 times out of 10.
Right, I think that what the code officer said is a chassis isn't enough, because the chassis is no different than the steel I-beams in a mobile home. He was saying if it doesn't have the wheels, then it's not a unit, it's not a,
An RV?
it's not an RV.
Through the chair. If it has no axles, which, where I bought mine in Florida, just bothered to take the axles right off,
Yeah.
I don't know what he did with them, I would agree 100%. But if you give me one little bottle jack and a burp gun, I'll have those tires and the tongue on and out of there in 20 minutes. It's still mobile. It's strictly for the comfort, and I make them skirted. I don't want to see the
Oh, yeah.
tires. I want pretty.
If your definition and everything else, it has to remain with axles, okay? If they take the tires on or off, they're still there. But if you,
Axles and chassis,
oh, you know what I'm saying is,
Chassis, of course.
but if the tires are still there, like you said,
It's no structure.
if you take the axles out, yes, that would be a structure, okay? But if you turn and leave the axles, like Mr. Berg just said, point blank, it still can be mobile quickly.
And the tires still have to be there.
The tires have to be there.
It can be mobile until somebody builds a Florida room attached to it.
No,
That's.
No, the room-
yeah,
the-
well, that's
the
another issue.
exterior,
That's
the
like-
exterior of that,
With decks and porches could make it immobile, so,
you still can pull them away.
yeah.
Watch.
But the that's,
I think one of the reasons that Dave says that the wheels are off is to make it stable, plus to lower it down about a foot, so people go up 2 steps instead of 3, so people my age or getting to be my age can get up the stairs easier without tripping or falling. I think that's part of the reason, is it?
Well,
I think all 3 of us agree, and
I think Mr. Berg's comment that as long as the axles are still there.
And tires are there.
The tires are
And wheels.
underneath. You can take the tires off the axle, it's still an RV, because it's 10 minutes to put the tires on and pull it away. If the axle is missing, then you've got a problem.
I agree. You can have my Florida home, I can't move it.
Where is it?
Maybe. In an RV park.
In Naples, it's a nice neighborhood at any rate.
In some parts of Naples you wouldn't live in.
Well, I was in West Naples a couple of years back, it was a nice neighborhood. Okay.
Does somebody want to try to articulate what we just
Yeah, the park model will have
Oh, you-
axles and tires. It doesn't say they have to be mounted.
No, the axle
The
needs to
axle
be
has to
mounted.
be.
It will have axles or axle and tires. RV.
Must
have-
The
RV.
the RV must be on a chassis with the axle attached, and the tires can be removed but must remain on site.
Right, and,
Is
yeah,
that
that's
work
where I was
for-
going, on-site, readily accessible,
Yeah.
With the
Or
unit, no, hey, with the unit,
something, you know.
Okay,
Right.
does,
with the unit.
should I, can't believe I'm the one doing this, should I make a motion again?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
He just did.
Okay,
We just need a second.
I'll second that, but
Okay,
I
Tom,
have
Chip
some,
and Tom.
Okay.
I have some, maybe if you consider
Now we
look
can
at it, where you did say it has to have a chassis, I think that's, just a given.
It has to have the chassis and axle, has to remain
Well, how about
attached.
just the axle,
The axle intact.
the axle intact and then attached?
You don't have a chassis, you haven't got an RV.
Right.
Exactly. You don't have a unit.
In all due respect.
I'd like to keep it.
Let's see.
Okay.
Keep it with the axle attached, axle and chassis.
Yes.
Okay.
So the axle can't, I mean, the gentleman from
Apple.
Red Apple just said that his unit in Florida used to have an axle which has been detached.
And the tires and the wheels, and they're gone.
And they're all gone.
Yeah, so
Yep.
let's just say,
So we wanna leave
an
that.
RV has, it has a chassis with the axle attached and the wheels,
Tires.
I'm sorry, the tires.
We're not gonna redo that, hold the chip, let's go to 3-2. Because basically what it says is, in order to be considered as a vehicle.
What
and
page,
not as a structure-
page?
Page is 21. Last part of recreational vehicle, in order to be considered a vehicle and not a structure, the unit must remain with chassis and axle intact.
I'm sorry, what are you
125.
looking at?
Page 21.
No, it's on page 25.
What section? I don't have my big book.
You're in the old one, okay, 25 then. You're in
Yeah, because we don't have the new one yet.
It's 25 in the old one, yet, 34 from the top. Section 3.
Okay.
Can we have a site, please? I don't have my big book.
It's in the definitions,
In what section?
section 3.
3-2.
Thank you, got it,
Definition of
Page 25.
recreational vehicle.
got it.
Do we want to change it to recreational,
Yes.
should we?
That's the
Chair would
same.
recommend
It's
that.
already there.
Yeah, should say
It's already there.
recreational vehicle.
Okay.
Should that, definition include something like park mall or something?
It's there.
It's,
Yeah, it's proposed.
it's proposed, it's in the proposed one. If you really wanna,
Okay.
I just wanted to show you reference to, if you go to Rick's letter.
I'm sorry, question for the board before we vote on this, should it include a requirement that it be registered with the Department of Motor Vehicles?
It's not recommended.
Mr. How did you say that?
Not required.
No, but how do you do it with your campground? You said, I remember he.
None of my apartmental RVs are registered. Because they're not motor vehicles going over the road. They are delivered to the park on a manufacturer's plate, or a dealer plate in some cases, very
Yeah.
seldom. And then they pay their personal property tax. So they don't have to be registered, and there's no
Right.
requirement I can find anywhere in the law for that.
It would only have to be registered if
If it's going on the road.
your tenant decided
Many
he
of
was
my
gonna take it and go
overnights
away.
are all,
Oh, yeah, overnights are, but I'm saying, otherwise, no.
Right.
I don't think I have any.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they decide to move to a different site, they're gonna have to register it when they put
No.
the wheels on it and take it away?
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
Different
different
location.
site, within the park.
No, location, on the
different
road, open
location,
road.
Marty.
Different
They're gonna
part.
take it out on the road.
That's what I'm
It's
trying to
not-
get at.
It's not our business to
Yeah,
No, it doesn't matter.
regulate the road travel of an RV.
No.
I agree completely. I was just bringing up the point that if they wanted to, they would have to go to the town and register it as a motor vehicle so that it could be taken away. Other than that,
Some of my seasonals come up in April and stay until October, then they go to Florida and or California or Texas and some other, I don't know if you.
Take the unit with them.
So
So they are, I was referring to park models. on
Right.
that aspect.
They're RVs, so I like what Dave said, he goes around and polices the ones that stay there seasonally. And the April first, I think the April first is a very good analogy of how we tax them. We go around, I like his idea, we go around and we, you, site 20, site 80, site 15, you pay me a tax thing on whatever the value is, and his NADA, I think an ADA book is probably a good way to do it, or however, that, you know, however you guys wanna do it, and we give that to the tax people,
the,
the girl upstairs, and she can come and count them, or we can just, or go by our count.
yep,
And
you
we
give it
have
to
them
her.
do it, or we
We're not
pay
getting
it.
involved with that
That's
one.
not our,
All right,
But I mean,
point
it's just
point
some
of-
more
point
ways.
of- point of order, so I made the motion. What we're talking about is changing the last sentence of this definition,
Right, to
correct?
be considered as,
Okay,
Yeah.
in order to be considered as in order to be considered a recreational vehicle,
specifically
the-
park model, isn't it?
No,
Chip, do you
it's
have their,
That's a recreational vehicle. Park
it's sitting on my kitchen table, I'm afraid.
The park model is a recreational vehicle.
So you had your motion that I think we got
Here.
off track from.
Take mine. Oh, you have one.
Okay, so what we're saying is the unit must be mounted on a chassis with the axle attached and the tires on site
with unit.
with the unit. That is what I would like my motion to be, yeah.
I think it should say with unit, because on site
On,
could be almost
Could be
anywhere.
well,
Yeah.
on site with the unit,
Okay.
okay?
That'll
So
work.
that is my amended, I'm the only one that's allowed to amend my motion. That is my amended motion. Do I still have a second, whoever seconded it?
I like that second.
Okay.
Second it.
Is there any other discussion?
No. Go for it.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yay.
It is unanimous.
This is my stuff.
You have two of these
No, I gave you one. Yeah, I gave you one of these. I gave you
Is there
one.
another
now. Yeah, and it disappeared.
point that we were looking at?
Okay, you can have that one. And
Sure,
now,
if I might.
what's disappeared is.
please.
So just for, there's been a lot of discussion, can I just sort of read what we're proposing, adding what was just the motion? I mean, the words might change a little bit, but just read the whole thing through for a second.
Sure.
So the proposed language for a recreational vehicle would be to change the word recreation to recreational vehicle / RV. A vehicle or vehicular attachment to a vehicle designed to be towed and designed for temporary sleeping or living quarters for one or more persons, which is not a dwelling, and which may include a pickup camper, travel trailer, tent camper, camper trailer, park model RV complying with current standards for recreational park trailers or motorhome. And then in order to be considered, I don't know if the word's right here, considered as a recreational vehicle, must have the, I'll just paraphrase, the axle, chassis, and wheels, located, on the campsite, something like that. Does that capture it all
The axle's intact and tires on site.
on the site, something like that?
now, you
With unit.
you said
With
current
unit.
On site,
standards
we said that.
instead of ANSI 119.5 standards.
Yeah, to the chair, we had discussed that with Tad, it was a suggestion, I think, of Tad's, so that, because as was referenced by the other gentleman and by Tad, ANSI standards may change, we're not, so Tad suggests we just say with current standards, that way if there's additional standards, and we're not experts on what the ANSI standards are, but we know that they apply, we've captured whatever the current standards are for recreational park vehicles.
So, Rick,
The-
where are you looking to have that?
Change the word ANSI standards in your draft to say complying with current standards for recreational park trailers. Do you agree with
I
that?
don't know if we got to that draft yet.
No,
No,
Sorry, I was side talking.
My,
But who are the current standards? The current standards are always gonna be ANSI standards, aren't they?
Or 1194 is what the industry uses the most.
And that's
That's NFPA.
Yeah? And
Yeah.
that's the accepted standard across the country.
so should.
I'm not keen on
Well,
standards.
we're
agreeable either way.
Right.
If we're agreeable,
This is,
whatever,
NFPA is not, those are National Fire Protection
Oh,
standards.
we're agreeable to whatever the board want. That was just a suggestion, but we
It's
got to put
currently
ANSI
ANSI,
back in. It doesn't matter to us as long as we thought it was appropriate to
They go
reference
back and
some
forth.
standard.
They're not always the same.
They're not always the same.
My concern is, you know, unless you're a campground owner, you know, for us to sit there and assess what the current standards are,
Sure.
I think we're gonna be very difficult at a, you know, once the three of you guys aren't in a room and somebody else is proposing to do this. You know, there's always language to, you know,
fine.
reference, yeah, right, the current ANSI, RVIA, or whatever the standards may be. You know, guidance from you guys on how to encompass them would be appreciated.
RVIA, in all due respect, are the who build them.
Okay,
Sometimes I don't necessarily agree with theirs, because they want something that isn't necessarily safe.
Well, I'm a big fan of NFPA.
Well, if I could, Mr. Chair, and that's a reason why I'd rather not even refer to the standards, because we have no control what those standards will become. So, I'd rather just, we have our condition, our restrictions, our allowances, and then if there are changes in the industry, maybe we can revisit it, but.
I think it should reference something specific,
At the very least, the fire standards it should
Yeah.
reference.
Fire standards,
which is what Mr. Berger's talking
The
about.
fire standards isn't just for fire protection, it's everything. These are like $20, but I get them because I sit on the national board. You're welcome to borrow it anytime you want to, or I can get you a copy for free. I'm sure I can snag another one in the office.
as long as it has the
National
sticker.
standards,
Okay.
you can do national accepted standards.
Would that work?
It's still just what you
Interpret it any
said.
ways you want.
I'm sorry, I don't know everybody's name, but you're right, you're never gonna be able to figure out what is the current national standard without looking at a document. But national standards get you some kind of safety there,
Those
sir.
aren't referred specifically to fire code.
And FPA 1194 is the whole title of everything RV. And
Good and
FPA
bad.
has many sections, but 1194 is just for recreational vehicles.
So
And this is the
complying
2018 edition.
ANSI standards and NFPA 1194 standards.
That could change. In 5 years, that could not be, it could not be NFPA, it could be another, if we say nationally accepted standards.
Dave,
it's whatever
quick
it is.
question. If they change the standards around, okay?
You change them all the time.
No.
Still 1194.
Well, I'm just asking is that if they change the standards around, okay, you have a unit that's 5 or 6 years old, they change the standards. Does that change the ability? Okay, thank you.
So we gonna vote on this motion? Not yet.
And do the standards apply to, going back, or just
No.
new,
Going
the
forward.
new manufacturer?
Like this one here, they forgot to put in a picture of a part model, they weren't gonna reprint it for one mistake.
Yeah.
But
so
there are committees that work on this year-round, we have people at National that are on the committee, and so we usually know right up to the minute when the new ones come out.
Okay, do we need to add the words park model to the litany of things that qualifies recreational?
I believe
No,
that
we
is
did.
in the
That is,
definition
yeah,
that,
we did,
that
yes.
they have proposed.
That was not in my motion.
Everything,
So we voted on my motion?
Well, no, we haven't, so that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did, we voted on the motion.
did you say RV, sir?
You did say
The
RV.
definition of RV includes part models, it's a part model RV,
Park model is a subset of RV, but
just as a pop-up and
I understand that, but we're talking about the definition in the Arundel land use ordinance, which currently does not say park model. Does it,
But through the chair, it says recreational vehicle. It was in your motion,
Yeah,
and that is a recreational vehicle.
yes.
The thing is that we had a proposal given to us for a proposed change. And it was my understanding we were modifying
The proposed change.
change.
Yes,
And it
because
was
that's
proposed by the applicant.
That's what
that
Jamie
was,
said.
that was not my intent.
I think he took that, took it on his own.
Still accomplishes everything.
It's really, they were both close, I think the only difference was the term park model that you didn't include, Chair. And, did we already vote on that?
Yeah.
We did.
Yes, we did.
But Jim, I thought you were
So why
reading,
don't we have a
Right.
motion to include?
I will throw out a motion.
I thought you were reading right from what
I'm gonna make a
Okay.
motion to include the term park model RV in the same, within the same definition.
It's already in 3.2 in all due respect, in existing language.
Yeah.
Chip just expanded the current language to include what he wanted. So park model RV is there.
I don't see
3.2
it.
definitions.
It's, the new one does say park model, I guess I'm looking
The
at.
proposed definition does say park model,
So does existing.
yeah, just to be clear.
Alright, if it does, then.
3.2 definition, existing. It's in their own attachment 1. Bottom of page 1 of 2.
Oh, in there.
But you're talking about existing language, not proposed language, existing.
Okay.
Oh,
Already
I guess
has
I'm
park
looking
model.
at the old definitions then.
We're looking at the current zoning ordinance, the park model is
No,
not.
it's not there, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Because our,
It is not there.
it's a catch, our apologies, it doesn't say our park model, which it did.
Which is why it's in
That's the
red,
catch.
and yours is because
Right.
park model's not.
Okay,
Yeah, but
So-
my motion is that it should be.
I second it, let's fix it, move on.
Okay,
Motion's been made and seconded to add park models to the definition within
RV,
the land use ordinance in section 3.2.
yay.
Okay.
Yippee-yi-yay.
I'm assuming, I did, and I'm assuming that since you guys made the motion and
Yeah.
seconded,
Sorry,
that we're done. Okay.
alright.
Okay, we've already dealt with the third one, which was occupancy, correct?
No occupancy after November 1st.
Okay, I've got that. So those, the three that you asked for have been addressed.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, is there anything else the board want to add to this?
Do you want to have it, because I don't have my copies with me, as I said, but turn it, or did it say somewhere that the tax bill or anything else will be submitted?
I did include that to make that a provision in the ordinance, to make sure we have standardization of reporting to the assessor's department on this. And-
For our town only?
Well,
Obviously.
yeah, that's what it's on there.
Anything that's there on April 1st.
I got one I got one thing on that, and I think Dave and,
Jim?
Jim will agree, is if they're there on April 1st, it has to be something that he or I know we'll have people on April 1st who'll come up for a weekend.
Oh.
Because it's opening weekend, they'll come up for one
The
weekend, and
question
then
is,
they're
if
going,
the
so.
unit is sitting on the site April 1st, I matter if they're there or not, by law, it has to be reported to the town, they're trying to mirror the law
Okay.
for taxation purposes. If it's on the property, I don't care who's in it, I'm not open April 1st, but people leave it year-round, they're gonna be there April 1st.
Right.
The unit, obviously, is there 365, so
Yeah,
whoever's there on
I know
April
it's
1st,
only
I don't get into it until about July
Yeah.
1st.
I just don't wanna have to pay taxes on a unit that comes in for a weekend
Yeah.
on the
No, no.
1st of
No, no, no.
April. and
Well,
then-
that's what the law says.
Bentley,
Well, see, this
unfortunately, I
is-
think the way it works is if the thing's there on April 1st, they gotta pay taxes.
Open April 2nd, Bentley. so-
Yeah, because we open,
Yeah, there you go.
You know,
April
that's-
2nd.
I do have the chair.
Yeah, okay.
The one thing Dave picked up on the November 1st one, and that was to deal with that issue, was if anybody's there after, any units there after the close of that season, then that is one that's going to stay there throughout the season.
there's always a potential of if you open on April first and somebody comes in, that's why I put November first. Now, that's tax, within zoning, we can make it so that it's based on zoning and not necessarily on tax.
I catch it, but in all due respect, someone that's sitting in November first, December first, January first, February first, could be long gone by April.
That's right. And
So
they could
that's
be
why I
there
don't like
all
the
winter
November
and be
date.
gone before April first. They could leave on, March 31st, and we don't get it. So the intent was basically to get them when they're there for the winter. When you close
Why
down.
wouldn't you mirror the law of the tax law? Why would you exceed that? In all due respect.
Basically, so we don't have.
I close
skippers.
Columbus Day, if they don't get it out to December, I don't care.
Yeah.
But if they're there April first, they're gonna pay taxes, I don't care if they leave April second, they're getting a bill,
Yeah, and that's pretty standard throughout all of the towns that I've ever.
state law.
Well, it's state law.
Not everybody
and
enforces
taxation.
it.
It's state law and taxation.
Well, it is state law for taxation, and that is where this bill is going to be coming from, which is the assessor's office.
Through the chair, my 2 cents worth is, I think you're on I would think a slippery slope to get involved with taxation issues, if that's the law. We've had a conversation with the assessor about that, going around on April first. It's the assessing, there are different laws to deal with taxation. It's sort of similar to saying, if you've got a cell tower, there might be certain tax implications of when you turn on, I don't know if you have covered, seasonal cottages. All the seasonal cottages have to be grouped, what was sold and by April first, like any other unit. So I think the laws are there, the assessor knows to take care of this, and if there needs to be a special reporting requirement for that, it can work out with the individual, to make life easy, work out an individual plan or a spreadsheet or way to do it that makes her life easy. But I think getting into taxation within the zoning ordinance is a slippery slope, I
But
think.
we're not
I-
doing taxation,
I have a
we're doing
question.
inventory of.
Right, but
of
inventory,
stock.
then inventory.
Inventory of stock.
Without, that's fine, that's
I
fine.
have a question, how about, or if you wanna throw it this way, any, because you have some of them turn on come for the season, okay? Your season can start April first or whatever else, any unit that remains after after your season closes.
So, but we
But that's
can't
not the way the
argue-
tax works.
So-
I'm just throwing that out as a question.
So, Rich, can I make a motion that we include a provision in this that that the owners of the campground provide the town planner and town assessor an inventory of all units present at the campground on April first, along with a description and estimated value based on NADA guidelines.
Second?
Including name and address of owner, because somebody's gotta send them a bill, gotta know where to send it.
Okay. I will heartily second that.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
well, hang on.
Through the chair, we already, we do that now through the assessor.
Correct.
Can we just?
Yeah.
And this is just
We're
gonna,
just gonna
this is just
codify
gonna,
that
right.
so that in the event that there is another campground at some point in the future that wants to come into town, they're gonna see that that's what they have to do as part of,
Right.
the
Do the
ordinance,
same-
to have
Same thing
campground.
we're already doing.
That makes
I
sense.
appreciate the fact that you guys do that right now.
Right, but do you want them to, can she forward that to them, or you want us to?
No, I don't see why she couldn't forward it to them.
No,
I don't see why she
Well,
couldn't deliver
I
it to
mean,
the campground
Yeah,
owner.
but the way it was just worded, you wanted us to provide
two people.
now 3.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
yeah, no, give,
yeah,
So we,
I don't,
we're gonna
I,
give them to the assessor.
The
She can
assessor
forward
give
is
it
it.
to
fine.
the assessor.
yeah,
Okay.
the assessor is fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded that the campground owners will provide an inventory of all items that are on the premises on April first,
All recreational
All
vehicles.
recreational views, right.
all recreational vehicles that are on the premises on April first, including contact information for the owners of that. of that pro-
And the estimated
and
value.
estimated
No, but that's already how they're doing it. We
Right,
don't have-
and we're
Yes,
just,
it is.
we're just
Oh, I'm saying, I see what you're
establishing
saying.
that rule.
But it doesn't need to go to,
No,
Town
it's
planner.
gonna go to the
Just go
assessor.
to the assessor.
but it doesn't need to go to town planner.
No, it's gonna go to the assessor.
Goes to assessor, period.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Okay, can I bring up, this is a question.
Okay.
And it has to do with winter months and, water and sewer and utility hookups and whatever. My understanding, and I wasn't here when the seasonal cottages were put in, but they have to be disconnected from town water, right? Seasonal cottages.
You don't have town water.
They don't have town water.
Well,
Well,
But they have,
Jim, you have
Yeah,
town water,
fire,
don't you? I mean,
yeah,
city water.
They
I
need
have
fire
this-
suppression.
Yeah, fire suppression available.
Okay, I'm sorry, where I am heading is, should we put anything in the ordinance that explicitly requires that the utility hookups be disconnected or disabled or drained or, I don't know.
No, I think that's up to the camp owner.
We already have the
Campground
limit
owners.
of the dates.
Drains, common sense, you go open and close dates.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and blow up their pipes, that's everything.
Right.
Exactly.
okay, so let
That's
the
that.
campground owner make that decision.
Okay.
I'm on town water, and I have to turn my meter in, so I have to disconnect anyway. All seasonal meters have to be turned into Kennebunk water and
Yes,
in the water district, so.
yes.
I'm sorry, sir, where is your facility located?
Hemlock,
Hemlock campground.
right on Route 1.
Hemlock Grove
Oh,
campground.
okay, gotcha.
So my
Good.
meter gets turned in, gets recalibrated, and then I get a different meter back with a new reading on it, so
Okay,
in essence, if you're on town, you're seasonal, you're disconnected.
but
Okay.
bottom line answer to my question is no.
I drain my well.
Essentially. Tom, did you have something?
No, just, I don't have any of my own opinion on it, but what do we do about, do we care about the size of the additions, the decks and all the extra rooms, sunrooms,
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, thank you for bringing that up, yes.
and maybe the distance or setback, do we care about any of that?
Not really.
From a fire perspective, I will.
Yeah.
What do,
And also, those are taxable, not
They are.
as personal property, that's structures. They're
Those are
structures, you're gonna need
structures.
public, you're gonna need a permit for putting decks in your building permit, you do. Adams, you need it. Yeah, you do, you need a permit from code enforcement officers already said so.
they don't
You would
feel,
need one if you did it on your house.
You have to do it in your personal house.
Yeah, can I,
Through the
can
chair.
I add
Yes.
to that? When we first started, that was the case, that we needed building permits if somebody wanted to put a deck or a floor to them on. They got so inundated in the first 2 weeks that they said, here's the standards, this is what we require, you guys police it
And report it.
and report it, and we do. So it goes on, so not only do we value the unit, we also value the floor to room and or the deck, or they have both. But
Okay.
we are, the last I was told is they do not want to be bothered. Now, we have new code enforcement, but
Yeah,
I don't know if you legally can do
it's
it.
gonna be a cumbersome task to come in.
My spreadsheet that goes to the town has the size of the deck, size of the floor room. I gave them the formulas for the running footage, for the roof, for the square footage, and the running footage of the walls, if they're three-season, if they're screened, and all that kind of stuff. And they get charged all of that.
Okay, so this 400 square foot limitation on an RV doesn't count later things that get tacked onto it.
Correct.
So,
There's additional taxation for that.
well, a couple things. I gotta get a permit from Jim to put a small deck on the back of my mom's house. I don't understand why somebody, an RV doesn't have to.
Well, that's what Jim is saying, it's just evidently.
No, it wasn't Jim, it was somebody
No,
before
no,
Jim.
it was somebody before Jim. Jim is saying that now you have to come to him and get a permit to do the deck or to do the Florida room or to do any of the other structures that go along with it. But whoever the codes enforcement officer was before Jim, and I think we all know who that might have been, but I can't think of his name, said to Mr. Berg and to Jim, no, just give us a list and we'll take care of it. Because there were too many people showing up all at once that
No,
wanted
it
to have these
wasn't a
permits.
question of too many people, it was that
But
they were
that's
too
what-
damn lazy.
Well, that's a completely different issue. I was using the language that was presented, there were
You
so
might
many.
agree with that.
There were so many people showing up that,
But-
and our code enforcement officer seems to wanna take the position that he's going to go out there and you're gonna have to get permits to do this
Okay,
work.
but Tom raised a good question, which is, should there be some limitation? Maybe something as simple as square footage.
I think the codes enforcement officer already has that information in mind. He must have some information, if he's gonna say you have to come and get a permit, he must have some idea as to how big.
Well, no, that's not what Chip's asking. Chip is asking, should there be limitations on how much
So you have a
You-
400
right,
square foot
But,
park model, can you have a
Can you have a 1,200?
1200
But
square
then-
foot
but-
water room?
Right,
well, my thought was that the codes enforcement officer would have some idea already as to how big that structure could be.
Well,
he
but
has
he
no
can't-
idea if we
but-
don't tell him.
Yeah,
Well, so
he
what?
can't make that up on his own.
Yeah.
It's us that would be telling him, we guide him.
Well, the other thing is, the site is only so big.
That's true. There are restrictions in most parks, and in towns, they have restrictions. Some allow them to go around the back and have a back porch and a side porch and a front porch. Even some of those were allowed in my park before I bought it. Once I bought it, I looked around at other towns and what they had. They only allowed them within the square of the unit, so if the unit's 40 feet long, they can't be more than 40 feet long, and 10 feet wide is what we're going all the way back to the guy with the white hair, who's usually sitting here. The old
Oh,
fellow.
On Monroe?
But he said no wider than 10 feet and no longer than the square of the unit. So that's what we've maintained ever since I bought the place. Wells has an 8-foot unit, width-wise, width is what I'm talking about, 9-foot roof. In my park, when I talked to Bud, you can't have anything wider than 10 feet and 11-foot roof.
So
So there is
simple
limitations.
math is 400 feet.
Right.
400 square feet.
And the roof
That's
is
to be
11
an
feet
RV.
high.
The RV is, yeah, so, my,
No, but what you just said, if the RV is 40 foot long and it's a 10 foot deep, then the math it's an additional 400 square feet.
Could be. They're usually, you don't really get 40 feet every 40-foot unit, but because it goes from the fanny to the nose of the hitch,
Yep.
it's usually 40 feet subtracted. But yes, as far as I'm concerned, even as a consumer and a business owner, it should never be larger than the unit.
and
But
that-
these guys might not agree with me.
that's exactly what I would think. I don't want the original park model
Okay.
to
To be the
become
small
accessory to,
Right.
to the addition.
I like the, how about it be restricted to the lesser of the square footage of the unit or 400 square feet?
Well, they cannot be more than 400 square
That's-
feet.
But they could
if
be
you've got
small.
a 300, if you've got a
Oh, I
300
see.
square
You'd have
foot
a 200
trailer,
square foot unit.
then
I
you
see.
get a 300 square foot
Yeah.
room,
You
yeah.
found that?
Right?
Yeah,
And
no.
how does that work,
So
guys?
I have a question for
Mr. Berg?
Mr. Berg.
Sorry?
And for Jim, I can't remember your last name.
Wakefield.
Wakefield. For Mr. Berg and for Mr. Wakefield. You guys have roofs on these, and they're what, 11 feet up? Or is
If
there a
it's a
stand?
10-foot unit, they're 11 feet out, because there's a foot overhang all the way around. But I don't allow that to go outside the square of the unit. Even the stairs have to be inset, they can't be beyond. I'm fussier than the town is.
That doesn't
Are
hurt,
yours the
does
same
it?
way?
Yeah,
It's
I've
easier for
adopted the
maintenance.
same identical thing, even the stairs, the length of the unit can't, or the length of the room or the deck cannot be longer than the unit, and I don't go any wider than 10. Most of mine are 8, but I do have a couple 10-foot ones.
Okay.
Most of mine are 10, I have a couple 8s.
And the roof is how high up? 11 feet?
If it's a
I don't know,
10-foot room, no.
length of roof.
Oh,
If
length
the
of
room is 10 feet,
Oh,
the roof is 11,
Okay.
right.
God,
Okay.
no. You gotta have a
Oh,
pitch
it's-
from the top of the unit. You gotta have a.
It can't exceed the
You've
height
never
of
seen
the-
my
Right.
construction.
Yeah, it wouldn't, it wouldn't.
Can I ask a question?
Okay.
I'm
Bentley,
curious,
do you have any
Bentley,
issues with-
what your thoughts are on that, the size of the?
I thought the simplest thing was what Chip said, is the 400 square foot instead of getting all, I don't know what about you guys think, but I think just make it maximum 400 feet, because I don't think anybody's gonna wanna go more. Plus, we already have limitations on the distance in the new ordinances between campus, in other words, it's so many feet to the next campus, so you can't go too far anyway.
You make 19-foot long campus, 8.5 feet wide. I wouldn't want a 400 square foot fodder room.
Yeah,
No,
but
no,
Jim is saying the
yeah.
lesser of.
That's
right.
And that's the, yeah.
And Chip, if I would just recommend to amend that to deal with the roof height that can't exceed the height of the camper, the roof height of the camper.
I will amend the motion to include that, I like that idea.
So that's your second?
I just wanted to add as well, we
Okay.
don't allow anything other than pre-manufactured rooms.
Oh, okay.
Or anything, so there's no home-built stick, there's nothing like that. If it's not pre-manufactured from some of the
Aluminum,
dealers,
glass.
yeah, aluminum,
Vinyl.
vinyl, we don't allow it in the park, and I don't believe you do either.
Looks like crap.
So nothing homemade, the decks.
Do you, would it matter if there was, I'm wondering how restrictive we should get? If there was a fourth campground that came to town and they wanted to build their own stick-built, would that be a
As
problem?
long as the town didn't have a problem with
Yeah, I guess as long as you guys didn't have a problem
We
with
choose
that.
not to, though.
I just don't, what I consider a good carpenter,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody comes in and they say, hey, I wanna build a deck. I can tell within 10 minutes whether or not they know what they're doing, and if they don't know what they're doing, I stop them and
Yeah.
we get a professional in there for them to finish it.
If we both used to allow skirting to be wooden, lattice work,
Yeah.
vinyl's final. White, clear, clean. We don't allow that crap. And, but I don't think you should get that restrictive, but we choose not to do that. Because they don't get painted and they fall apart, and we use metal, aluminum roof, and foam.
Okay.
Aluminum.
I have a motion, which is that any accessory decks, porches, or additions to the unit be restricted to the lesser of 400 square feet or the square footage of the unit with the roof no higher than the roof of the original unit.
You wanna say that again, restricted to no lesser than 400 square feet?
It
The lesser
restricted
of.
to the lesser of 400 square feet or the square footage of the unit.
And Chip, can I clarify, instead of saying the unit, the RV?
The RV, yes, okay, sorry, yes, the
Good
RV.
catch.
So a 20 by 8-foot RV would have a 160-foot maximum deck.
Right, right.
It works for me,
The lesser of the two.
the lesser of the two.
Yep.
So it's the lesser of the two, so if you had a 20-foot RV that was 8 feet wide, that's 160 square feet, that's the size of your deck.
They're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. We
I'll
have
second
a,
that motion.
we have a motion and a second.
Which one should be no higher than
Yeah, Marty?
And then the RV.
Just like what
Yeah, the
Mr.
original-
Berg was
the
saying,
original RV.
and Jim over there today, how they usually have a, professional,
Factory-made parts, but that's, I think you're getting too restrictive to someone who want to have a really rustic campground, we just choose not to.
okay.
Stay away from that.
Okay. Need to vote?
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion?
Jamie, you wanna make any more amendments?
Not right now, Chip.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
It is
Just do them as you go.
Okay.
You do know I'm teasing.
No, I do.
It was very helpful.
Okay, that takes care of that. Is there anything else? We've covered everything.
You have, and thank you very much.
Cover
It's been a really very good discussion.
The only other thing, we're buffering, and that's it.
Well,
What Rich brought up before, changing, screening to buffering and put RV campgrounds in there, and we were gonna talk about property line of abutting parcels in R3 and R4 district.
I think that's up to, within the campground, how they're doing it.
No, this is our standard, this is what we already have as a standard.
And that is
Did you want, that's in section, that's in 10.3, It's gonna be
9.3.
9310-1B, and that was the screening buffering issue.
Right, screening, campsites shall be laid out and screened in such a manner that none are within view from public roads, existing residences, or approved subdivision lots. Any combination of evergreen planting, landscaped earthen berms, or solid fencing may be used to achieve this screening standard. We were talking about changing that from screening to buffering.
Why? Because we had a buffer issue, we had a conflict in another section of the ordinance. So it should be screened or buffered?
Through the chair, the ordinance defines screening and
Right.
specifically defines buffering, you're probably well aware, and this basically says, no, it cannot be, and it says, it goes beyond, it says cannot be, none are within view, and we've been through this numerous times, and that standard, as we found, is extraordinarily difficult to meet for any objective use of a property. To say that you can't see anything is just in this world, so it mixes the word, so if it was to say something like, such a manner that none are, campsites should be laid out and screened in such a manner, laid out and screened, or buffer, whatever term you wanna use, period.
No, we have,
From public roads, existing residences, rather than saying screened in such a manner that none are within view. Because by definition, screening allows you to be viewed, a partial view. Buffering allows a partial opaque view, and this goes beyond it and says this.
The issue is, the problem is a conflict of terminology.
right,
It's a terminology.
We've run into that.
Do I correct it now or correct it later?
Well, we'll correct it now.
correct it now.
We're into this.
Part of the correction will include,
Well,
RV
The,
and
the question that we have to answer
what?
is, are we using screening or buffering? Because the standards are completely different.
Right.
Screening is from 33 to 74%.
Right.
Buffering is 76% up. So do we want it buffered or do we want it screened?
Buffer.
We want it buffered,
Okay.
okay? So that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna say campsites shall be laid out and buffered in such a manner, the campsite shall be laid out and buffered from
Public roads.
From
existing
public roads, existing residences, or approved subdivision lots.
I have a question, campsites is one thing, but what about the RVs?
Those are technically campsites, they're not tented sites. The RV is on a
But
campsite.
The term campsite, that with the RV there. I think it should be.
He's bringing up a good point. Campsites
Campsites can always be buffered.
including
Or just.
whatever is on them,
Yeah,
but that's not explicit here.
No, it's not.
well,
Campsites.
Mr. Chairman, all due respect, if you get $1 million motorhome, the thing's gonna be 15 feet high.
it's gonna be hard.
How you gonna do that?
Rhode Island's selling
It's Bentley.
13 acres.
Well,
You know, his is pretty tall.
through the chair, I guess the question is, this goes back, I'm sorry.
Oh, not at all.
And fundamental question about viewing and screening. We live in a world where, is it really necessary to screen or say to opaque every little piece of a development? In other words, on a commercial piece of property, you put up a metal building or a nice building, whatever it is, by whoever taste, and the screening standards within that, the same zone, would allow you to see most of that building. You screen some of the parking lot, is minimal screening, all of a sudden you come to a campground and the screening standards are extraordinarily, they're rigorous, and as they should be for certain uses. But I guess to say that you can't see an RV through the woods in a zone that's been zoned to allow that, in a zone that has other buffering requirements, general buffering requirements around the perimeter, that begs the question, what are we trying to accomplish? I guess that's, we didn't really want to get into the whole screening thing and get muddy, but if it can be done simply, great, but if it gets complicated, maybe it's a.
This has been a long, ongoing debate, and
Correct.
I understand
Yeah.
it, but my question was just the term campsites. You can go out
I
in
understand.
November and they're all buffered, you don't see a
Don't see a
thing. But it's the
Right, we
units,
understand.
whether we do screen or buffer it is, might make a difference, but I'm just saying, the campsite can be, nothing's there, and they're all hidden, you can't see the ground from anywhere. With the units there, it's a little tougher to conceal.
And if someone brings $1 million unit in, then perhaps you can charge them enough rent to buy some more viburnum.
How come I can, sorry, through the chair.
Yep. Go ahead.
We have that new cluster housing at the end of town, I can see every one of them that's not set back in the woods. How does that make that different than to make a living in me? I'm grandfathered anyway, I'm looking for the common man here. There should be reasonable buffering.
I think, if I could answer, I think the difference would be that if it's a house over there, they live there year round and they'll want their own peace and quiet. But when people go on vacation, they're gonna be out having a campfire, sitting on the deck, and they go away, and next week someone else is there, and it's a little bit more intrusive, a little louder, a little bit more visibility, lights are on, they'll be up later,
I will
maybe
admit
not-
to you, driving by my park, driving by his park, his looks a lot nicer because he's got a wooded park.
What if we, if the buffering requirement didn't apply to public roads, it applied to existing residences and approved subdivision lots?
Yeah, I don't care about the public roads, I'm just concerned
Well,
about.
I'm thinking about the cost issue, and that maybe that's what's
Yeah.
important, or maybe we have buffering for existing residences or approved subdivision lots and screening from public roads.
I think it's really situationally related.
Well,
I think having a standard that you have to be 90% buffered from public roads, from every residence, from every adjacent property, could be problematic.
Yeah,
It depends context, where you are, whether you have residents next door, where you are in the landscape. There are certain times when you want visibility for the campground, there's other times when you don't want visibility from the public road. I think it's a case-by-case situation. Really.
I
I think it
think,
could be screened from existing residences and maybe subdivision lots, but I mean, how many times are we gonna have a subdivision lot? I mean, every lot can be a subdivision lot at some point. So I think I would be more concerned about buffering from residents, less concerned about screening. I mean, the public road thing, same thing you were saying.
Okay,
So I
so,
think it should be relative to the situation.
but should we use buffering or screening, gentlemen?
That's the question, should we use
To the
buffer?
chair.
Yeah, but
we've addressed this in one way or another before, when we're setting up a campground, okay? We're not I'm talking about screening or buffering on each site, that's up to the campground. So how are you gonna turn around and regulate it so that each campsite's gonna turn around and be?
No
one's
talking about that, Marty.
That's what it sounds like, I mean,
No,
you're trying to.
No.
Can I ask a question? Is this for existing because I'm all approved, they're grandfathered,
No, you're.
and this is on new campgrounds?
Yeah.
yes, this is new campgrounds.
You're approved,
That's
you're
what I
done.
thought, I mean, okay.
It's
I'm
new
just
campgrounds or
curious.
any expansions.
Yeah.
If they were to expand or so forth, that,
So-
you know, that area that's expanding.
I can't, thank you, Jesus.
Hmm?
I can't, thank you, Jesus.
Isn't there a minimum setback,
Yeah, there's 100 feet.
100 feet?
But as Rick has pointed out, it
Right.
doesn't necessarily mean it can be,
It
it's
could be
100-foot
better.
setback, it
Right.
could be
Yeah.
field,
Could be wide
there'll be
open.
nothing there, you know?
Yeah.
So that's, I think we still have to grapple with that issue, you know?
Right now, we don't have to grapple with any, because we have approved
Well,
campgrounds.
okay.
But I think, and we have to grapple with the issue, should we continue to have RV campgrounds in all the districts we're talking about? Or should we re-examine?
Let's
not get
take these
overstepping.
things one step at a time though.
Right.
So for you said it's situational, if we have a buffering requirement, and somebody comes in and they show us the plans and we go on a sidewalk and we look at it and we say, the buffering requirement is unnecessarily stringent in this particular case, then we as a board have the ability to waive that, right?
Or to modify it.
Or to modify it.
Well, or to
However,
accept.
if it's the other way around, if the language says screening,
We can't modify.
and we look at it and we say, come on, you got a house that's right there on the property line, that's been there forever, we want you to do more, then Rick or whoever is representing the proposer is going to say, your ordinance says screening, and it doesn't say anything more. So, am I right in thinking if we err on the side of being more strict in the ordinance, it gives us the leeway to be more flexible and grant waivers?
No.
If you write in there that the planning board can adjust that based on field conditions in there, then you can, and you don't write that in there.
You can't.
Okay, then. Do this
Wait.
again.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
No, but we're about to.
No, but let's discuss this before we have a motion before.
Well, no, let's,
Rethinking it.
we should have the motion and then the discussion, technically.
No,
No.
let's have a motion that doesn't get amended 50 times by Jamie.
Can we vote
But
on?
Jamie won't have any.
I know, and Jamie won't be having fun
Sit down here
anymore.
critiquing all night.
No, we have.
But what Chip was
I think
just
Jamie
saying,
should make the motion.
just what Chip was just saying, if it's buffering, we can adjust it.
We can
If
adjust
it's
it.
buffering,
If we say that we can make the adjustment based on
no,
field
no,
conditions.
no, the way he was just saying it, if it's buffering, we can adjust it. If it's screening, we can't. That's,
Up adjust
huh?
You can't up adjust it, which is what Chip's point.
Yes,
Right.
that was my point.
Through the chair, if I could, yeah, buffering is defined in the ordinance as 67 to 100%, yada, yada, yada.
76, I thought.
76, thank you, and screening is defined as
33 to
33 to 74. So there are definitions, and our two cents worth, I think, to some of the comments here, to give the board some flexibility, because you could have a beautiful open field that's 200 acres, and you have RVs on a beautiful campsite, but you can see it from a residence, a quarter mile away, and maybe some level of screening is required, but I think allowing flexibility, because the cases are quite unique for a campground, to me is the most logical thing. Allow the board, give the board the flexibility.
I think that's why
Yeah.
using buffering and then putting in a statement that it can be adjusted based on field conditions.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Would be the appropriate way to handle it.
I agree.
As opposed to saying screening, but it should say buffering, and then adjust it from there.
I'll take a shot.
Which is-
Wait.
Make a motion that we adopt the term buffering to include, what were we saying?
Field adjustment.
See, this is
Field
why-
adjustment, right.
And to allow the planning board to make.
The discretion of
adjustments.
the planning board.
Okay.
Discussion of the-
Let me
He can't resist.
throw out a motion here, that 9.3.101B as in boy, we changed, the word screening we changed to buffering. After campsites shall be laid out and screened in such a manner that,
Screen, you said screen.
I'm sorry, shall be laid out and buffered
From public roads.
in a manner that none are within view from striped public roads, existing residences, or approved subdivision lots, subject to evaluation of
Field conditions.
field
by the planning
conditions
board.
by the planning board. Does that work for you, Mr. Planner?
I'd second that, Chip, if I could.
I'm still keeping something for roads. You may wanna conceal some project from the road.
Oh.
And say that
Let-
the planning board
okay,
shall have
let-
discretion to
Let
modify
me,
that
let's make the title of it buffering and screening. Say campsite shall be laid out, just the way I just said, blah, blah, blah. Subject,
Existing residents and approved subdivision lots, yeah.
actually approved lots, strike the word subdivision. approved lots.
Included.
So if I've created three lots that I have on the market, I'm trying to sell it, and somebody decides to put a campground in there before I manage to sell the lots, why do subdivision lots get special treatment?
Approved residential lots,
I agree. Residential lots, do you want to also say for commercial lots?
No.
No.
Subdivision lots, you
Residential
need
lots.
commercial.
residential.
Residential lots.
No, just approved residential lots. Period. Then I guess regurgitate the exact same language from public roads, except be screened from public roads.
Okay, and then you put in the caveat, when we adjust.
Field adjustment.
Then it would make, modify.
The above requirements.
These requirements.
I just want you to know, we're getting much more done than Congress does in a week.
Well, you can say that, how about
We're
a
getting
year?
more done than
In a month.
Congress did in a year.
We've done more in the last minute than Congress has done since.
But Chip, you get paid by the meeting, they get paid by the minute.
We got more.
They got time to wait.
We got more accomplished in this meeting than the legislature did in the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'll be more than happy to tell them that.
Okay, I-
6
Okay,
months and
I'm
they
sorry.
can reach a conclusion.
I would like to second that, but I don't know if I wanna amend it, but I did have a comment about it, so I'm seconding it.
Okay, so a motion has been made and
I'm the only
seconded.
one that can amend it,
Okay.
so
I just have a question about the last clause, which I actually agree with.
Planning board may modify these requirements based on
Field
site
adjustment.
conditions.
And I'm all for that, but what type of parameters do we have?
We have any parameter that we say
Yeah.
it needs to be adjusted because we think
So-
it should be fixed.
I mean, like the example of, it's a quarter of a mile across an open field,
Yeah.
and
And
we
it-
decide, you know,
Okay.
you wanna put some visual, you know, a few plantings up just to
Yeah.
knock down the
which
visibility,
I think
but
would look
not-
great.
not go to the full, scope of buffering, you know, 76% or whatever it is.
Exactly. So
Good,
we're gonna box
good
the trees
example, but here's my question, so I like Bentley, so I'll let him have less screening, but I don't like Red Apple, so I'm gonna make them do screening, and that's me, that's
And we're gonna
really
get nailed for
it's
being arbitrary and
forced,
capricious.
yeah, arbitrary, and I wanna have something that, to base it on, do we need anything?
You gotta have
But I think that's would be part of your findings of fact. That
Okay.
due to other mitigating issues on the
As long
site,
as there are some
Right,
type
And we
of,
would have to say what those mitigating
Right.
factors are.
okay,
Because remember, this
Good.
is a conditional use, and a conditional use, you have to go through those criteria. And one of these is that it's not a nuisance, it's not a visual
Yep.
impact, it does
Yep.
not create a safety issue and so forth.
okay.
Those are broad
Good,
terms,
good.
gentlemen.
That's-
See,
Yeah.
the only other thing is, you're screening, okay, you can have the campground, but if you have the nude campground, okay, then you need a little more screening, for particularly.
Well, maybe
off the
less,
lot.
depending
Unless you're-
on the clientele. So, okay, so,
Okay.
good, so,
So-
because I don't wanna
At least I didn't.
get
Like
into
down in-
what you guys have gone through the last 5 years.
We have a motion.
Yeah, so I'd rather just have, I like this, so my second stance.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yeah.
Right.
It is unanimous.
We have no, okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Now you can
Thank
write
you,
it up so
gentlemen,
we
for
can
coming
all
down.
read it.
so Tad, next process in this is you will formulate a draft.
I will have this together, and we have to, we wanna
Public
schedule a
hearing.
public hearing.
Yep.
We wanna schedule it for.
Well, let's write it up
14
first
days,
so we
the
can read it.
soonest- The soonest that we could do it would be the 27th.
What about having it enacted, it has to go to town
Yeah.
vote?
Yeah.
So that would be November, what about this year?
Well, the town,
Well, no, the Board of Selectmen can call a special
they can
town
call a
meeting.
special town meeting, which they.
But they don't wanna spend any money, remember?
Okay.
They don't wanna put it in, but any
Well, a
like.
special town meeting is actually inexpensive, it's certainly cheaper than a town referendum.
We don't have anybody knocking at our doors, telling on the campground for these ordinances.
Yes, they have to have that in place before they.
Time out, we gotta get this done before November first.
Right.
October first.
October, sorry, we have to get this done before
So
October
there's a time
first.
element. Right.
And we're aware of that, that's the only reason that we bump you guys in the queue.
And we appreciate it.
And I-
Even though, well,
I think I think January, not
Questions
January,
got bounced.
I think July 27th is the earliest possible date that
And
we.
that
For a public
might, that
hearing.
might, that might be booked up solid, I
It
mean,
might
right
be.
now.
That's gonna be a
That's gonna be a rough meeting.
So the one after that would be the
August.
10th, August 10th,
Well, wait a minute,
which is the first meeting that we have in the month of August.
well, let's put it this way, like tonight, it was a special meeting. Why not, do we have to?
We could,
Through the chair, our
guys,
concern is
it's
just,
but,
summertime.
and that's part of the issue,
All the July.
you
Well,
know.
that's if I'm on the board anymore or not, right?
But that's, I think if we were to say August 10th,
I'm sure the newest
it would
comment.
give it, it would give
What?
us plenty
I'm
of
sure the
time.
nudist camp comment on it.
It would give us plenty of time, because we'll be able to have the public hearing at that point, and the Board of Selectmen will be able to put it onto the two agendas for
Whenever they do it.
whenever they get their act
We
together.
need 14 days notification, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And the selectmen only need 7.
And the big concern that I have,
We've met our
it
requirement.
is going to be a tight time frame by doing that.
What's
But we
the
can't-
harm of doing it on the 27th and just duking it out and getting it done?
We could
Well,
do it,
unless
but
the-
we've got some serious issues coming up on the 27th.
What else is going on the 27th?
Was-
Got a full agenda.
10th. Okay, August 10th.
Okay,
August 10th.
through the chair, just, I mean, whatever dates you can work, we'd appreciate it. Just, the schedule, I wanna be clear on the schedule, the process, because, I think after a public hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, under 1.8, this can get advertised through the clerk for a public, special meeting. It does not have to go to the selectmen, or it does at that?
The selectmen have to call the warrant.
They
You have to call the warrant
Right,
at
they
the
have
regular
to call
meeting,
warrant.
and then,
They
regular
do
meeting.
they do not have a public hearing for the purposes of reviewing the ordinance. They only have, they have to call the warrant 7 days prior to. They have a hearing on calling the warrant.
September, October, so if it was the second week in August, that September would be 30 days, you have 45 days in which to hold a public, special town meeting. So that's 6 weeks, it put you.
Well,
August,
understand
September.
this.
It'd be close,
Well, no, they can know.
within 45 days.
The 45 days doesn't, well, yeah. The 45 days doesn't apply because you didn't make a petition. You're going through the planning board. They can do sooner than that.
Sooner than 45. correct.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They only need 7 days' notice to call a public hearing. I mean,
Okay,
a
okay.
town warrant, special
Okay,
town
okay,
meeting.
okay.
'Cause otherwise I gotta go for, whatever you call that, petition like I did
Yeah,
back
it's already done.
5 years
Yeah, we were
ago.
done.
It's already done.
So
It's not gonna be
it's
any
still plenty of
faster.
time, though.
circulars.
It's not gonna be any faster unless they don't wanna do it. I
We
mean,
think
if they don't wanna do it, then yeah, a petition is your only way to force the
Right.
hand.
Okay.
Yeah, but they drag their feet on that too.
So we have time
So-
between,
Right.
yeah.
In your letter,
It's closely compacted, but there is enough time to get it
There's
done.
enough time.
We appreciate all the help you guys have done, I
Yeah,
appreciate
it's
it.
been helpful,
especially meeting and-
All the
Please,
input.
that-
These
In
that's
fact,
guys-
these gentlemen here for
Yeah.
for all the help
Yeah.
that you gave.
Very helpful.
and
You
Jim,
get
thank
big
you.
bucks for that,
Huh?
for volunteer.
Guys have a break. Good, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sign these, I can take it up from you later, the Mylar's here too.
Yeah.
You can get those, that's one, pick them up at your office. Okay. This doesn't have to be
I'll put them in
recorded.
the town clerk's office.
I have, you need how many paper copies signed? Just one?
No, give me 2.
You've got 2. I just like to get one back, scan it, make a copy, and get it back to you. And then you get to keep the Mylar because it's not recordable, so that's yours. We got a Mylar, you wanted a Mylar for your files, but it does not get recorded.
Yeah, you're not gonna record that.
So we'll pick up one of the
You don't
paper
need to
copies.
record that.
We'll get one of the paper copies of the Mylar, we'll get it scanned, so you'll give it, everyone has a PDF of the signature, and we'll give it back to you.
We'll do the signing next week.
No, we're gonna sign tonight.
We'll leave it.
That wasn't on the agenda.
Okay.
excellent.
And you'll do findings and facts for the next meeting.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. The last item that we're looking at is the,
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, thank you.
Mr. Berg, I got a question for you,
Sir.
real quick.
So we'll sign those and we'll get, I'll pick up, we'll pick up a copy. Pick up a copy and we'll get scanned copies from you electronically.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you all.
My wife, we're staying in a nice hotel. I took her camping in Florida. She didn't like that, so I bought another thing.
There's a nice place. There's one in our area. Lebanon.
A big, huge.
The only one in this whole section.
No, absolutely not, go away, kill him, you know?
You looking to buy,
Thanks.
Thank you guys for coming out. Great job.
Not a problem.
Pleasure. A lot of help, thanks for coming
I
out.
just wasn't sure, because they're just north of Freeport.
What are you giving away over there?
It is,
Year
okay.
round, 37
I want-
sites.
I wanted to check one of the campsites, because it belongs to one of my clients, and I wanted to make sure they had a listing on it.
You know, that's mixing, town business.
Okay, I'll give you 11 cents, and we can make it.
What makes you think you're getting paid?
In that case, I'm not giving you anything.
We're over budget.
All right, what are we doing there?
Okay.
Well, guess what? Then we
Over budget already.
Here's the
7 days in.
we need to decide a couple of issues.
The ordinance. I need a medical
Gentlemen.
tootsie roll if I'm gonna do the medical.
Gentlemen, not medical, we're talking about
We're
retail.
talking about the whole smash.
We're talking about the whole thing. We can, I've asked Sim about it, I've talked with Tad about using SurveyMonkey, get some kind of input in terms of what we wanted, what the town wants, but I think we should probably get started in working on some kind of a regulation, in case the town says, yes, we want to allow retail sales, for example. So we need to start developing some kind of criteria in terms of what that would look like. Now, if we get a straw poll and the town says, no, we don't want it, then it's really easy and we're gonna spend some time in a very frustrating exercise, but we can simply say, okay, fine, the motion will be to ban it outright.
Yeah.
But if the town says, yes, we want it, we're gonna be between a rock and a hard place in terms of putting together some kind of regulations.
Can I try to break this down into pieces again?
Sure can.
So, the growing for personal use, which is now allowed, right?
Correct.
Is 4 plants
6.
per person?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the number is, but it's.
Whatever it is, if it's 4 plants, that's 8 pounds a year, which
Smoking 8 pounds, smoking.
with today's stuff, yeah, that's, but bottom line, we can't regulate that.
That's correct.
That goes on, wherever it goes on, personal use, we have no control over that, okay? Then there is commercial agriculture, whether it be for medical purposes, recreational purposes, whatever. Commercial agriculture, that's not going on outside.
It can,
It-
and people do it, but it's mainly done
Hold on.
indoors.
It's not, I've been thinking about this, and the problem is theft, and plain and simple. You don't wanna wake up on Tuesday morning and find out that
Your stash is gone.
your 40, custom grown, whatever, have been toted off by teenagers. So,
Not only by teenagers.
whatever, but the bottom line is, when you're talking about agriculture, you're not talking about growing corn or green beans or whatever the Wentworth, gentleman, would be doing. What we're actually talking about are, for example, a garage, like Mr. Stilpin's, that has 220, whatever the tripolar electrical connection to it. I mean, we're actually talking more about a commercial enterprise.
It's definitely a commercial enterprise.
But I mean, it's going to look industrial as opposed to being nice
Correct.
Yeah.
I can turn my garage into one.
Yep, hang on.
Okay, but that's agricultural. Then we have retail.
In all of its.
And-
Well, before you do
and
that,
then-
let's go to the next.
Wait, but I'm just trying to break it down
Yeah, I
into,
was
you know,
gonna say
what are the
manufacturing.
pieces?
Go to manufacturing next, because manufacturing is another component. That's one of the things.
Oh, okay, so you got the growing, and then you have the taking the produce and turning it into,
Processing it.
whether it's oil or Tootsie Pops or cookies or whatever. Okay, good point, Ted. All right, you got that too. And then last but not least, social clubs.
Right, so we have the four,
Five.
five aspects.
Plus medical marijuana is still there.
Yep.
Medical marijuana is still there.
They're separate.
It is, but we have the medical marijuana issue, we have the growing production aspect of it, we have the manufacturing of it, we have retail sales,
Let's call it processing.
Right.
okay, we have retail sales, and that involves all of the various kinds of items that are being sold, and then we also have social clubs
There's one more too. Testing labs.
and a testing lab.
Now,
Those are the
What's the
various,
testing lab?
those are the
Purity,
various areas
Concentration,
that we need to look at and decide,
ratings.
do we,
Sort of like,
how do we regulate those? If the town says that they want to allow this, how do we regulate them? Do we allow them anywhere they want to go? Do we say only in certain areas? Do we say it can be a home occupation? And you can do growing or manufacturing or, you know, how do we go about defining what that role is going to be? And I think we need to start working at it from the point of view that says the citizenry will allow it. I'm praying that they will not. But because quite honestly, I think it's a horrible idea. But if the citizens want to have that kind of business.
some or all.
Some or all.
Majority.
If the majority of the citizens say that this is a good idea and they wanna have it, we need to get ahead of the curve so that we can start working on this. So that, because February's coming up really quick.
unless we put a moratorium.
Unless we put in a moratorium.
All right.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I think personally, we need to restrict most of it, except for the personal growing. Most of it should be
That's not restricted.
in certain zones, limited. But, question is, are there any towns that we know of that have enacted some type of
Every town that I have heard of
Most-
has shut it down and
Right,
said
they're
it's
all,
not
they're
allowed.
all, it's all
Not
up.
Bedford.
No,
Bedford did, Wells did, I believe Scarborough did,
Yeah.
most of the,
Bedford's
Let-
embracing.
Bedford's the only town that I know of
Really?
that is embracing it. Everybody else
No, I
has
think
said,
there's some, I think Portland's doing some.
North Berwick.
Portland doesn't, sorry, Portland doesn't count for much.
Another
Okay.
comment is, I think we have to be
Largest city in
careful
the
with,
state.
with Simone had some good ideas, but we have to be careful what we do, because we do Survey Monkey, sometimes the ones who really wanna have it in town, and then what happens if
But
it's
let-
skewed, and then how do we say, no,
Let-
that
let-
isn't really what
Well,
you
these are,
thought?
those are just ways that we can gather up the information from this.
But it will be some data that citizens can point to and say, it was 73% in favor, and
Yeah, I'm not all that.
the online surveys are too loose.
Then
The other thing
then we
is
can do a
along
straw
that
poll.
line,
There's any
Tom,
number of ways that this can be accomplished, we just
Yeah.
have to come up with some.
along that lines, when we done a survey before, okay, in town, it was the majority that turned out the, whatever, I don't remember exactly what the survey was, we were in favor of it in town. Town government said no, it never happened.
That's what I'm afraid of, so.
But I'm just saying,
Right.
it was, the survey said yes. And
And we don't wanna be in that position where the result is one way and we say something else.
Let's try to move the ball forward a minute. Let me propose one, or at least give you one angle to look at this on, which is the public finance angle, okay? So, which of these 5 things has the potential to produce incremental revenue for the town?
None of them do.
Wrong,
Well,
absolutely, absolutely
And I'll
wrong.
tell you why I say none of them, okay? I've talked to a number of different bankers. You can't take the money and give it to the bank because the banks are guilty of money laundering if you do, and the feds are threatening to go after them.
Well,
They can't, you can't process them.
But assuming somebody
if somebody builds,
self-finances a building, in, you know, to Chip's point, I think there are a couple that would have the potential for a tax revenue back to the, you know, manufacturing setting or processing. You know, that comes from that.
honestly, the agriculture, you've got real estate tax revenue there.
We do, but my point is that the way the banking laws are set up, and I heard this from a banker in Biddeford, the problem that they're faced with is that if you sell the product, you can't deposit your money in the bank. If you grow the product, you can't take the money to the bank. And if you're the landlord of a building that is where they are growing it, you're renting the space, the banks are telling the landlords, you can't bring us the money, it's money laundering, by definition.
That, all of which is completely irrelevant
To what your question is.
to my point of, if somebody builds a $200,000 facility with grow lights and a super duper power plant or whatever, and they're using the cash that they got because they were growing weed illegally beforehand to build the building, it doesn't change the fact that Arundel gets to collect taxes on the building.
Right, and in terms of what the most productive tax for a building facility would be, it would not be agricultural production, it would be testing and manufacturing. Those would be the two facilities.
The processing, processing and testing.
Processing and testing are gonna be the ones where we're gonna get the most revenue. We're not gonna get any tax revenue, any sales tax revenue or any kind of fee revenue unless we put in a fee for getting a permit, or the selectmen put in a fee for getting a permit. But those are the two facilities, as in any other situation, always manufacturing and testing are gonna, you're gonna have the most personal profit.
along that, along,
Now, unless, if I could just add one more thing, Marty. The only time that you would get a lot of money for agriculture is if, and it probably will happen, they'll wait a little while, but the big corporations will come in from Colorado, and they will put up a Madison, sort of a Madison backyard farms kind of operation. A very large greenhouse project, complex, basically producing this. Because that's what they have in Colorado right now.
Right, and
that one
so,
will be
so,
good.
so those 3 things.
But the garage
would
one won't.
Would produce. Okay, but, I mean, but I just, the point I was trying to make is retail sales is not gonna help the town of Arundel's income statement a bit.
unless you have
So-
a town
so-
tax.
Social club, but there is no town tax. It's not in the law, it's not, there's no provision for it, Marty.
I said if.
The legislature
Yeah,
won't.
but the legislation didn't include that because they didn't.
They haven't even done anything in legislation yet.
They will never give local option sales tax.
It's been tried,
It's
you
been
can't
tried
get
for the
it
last
It's-
30 years.
it's not gonna
They won't
happen.
do it.
And the same thing with social clubs.
Exactly.
So, social clubs have the added problem of that not only do they not create revenue, but they, in my mind, they create potential expenses and liability of unmeasurable proportions. So As I said, I spent 30 years thinking from this perspective. So just as a starting point, I'm not saying it's the only way to look at it, but one way to look at these things and parse them and say, okay, 1, agriculture, 2, processing, and 5, testing labs, those all have the potential to generate revenue for the town.
I agree with you, Chip, but
Just throwing it out.
But I must add that I don't know if the tax that benefit is it really even worth making it much of a factor here. So it might be, $1,000 to even 5,000 a year.
I don't think you have any idea how big the facility
Well,
Tad
if
is
we
talking
got
about.
something like that, but I think the impact on the town may, we probably couldn't handle that.
No.
Well, why is that,
But I
Tom?
was-
If,
like-
and I'm just trying to feel out the subject. If there was a processing facility in town, say in an industrial park somewhere,
Well, let's say
why
DB2.
would that be?
Let's say the DB2
Me
district.
too, yeah.
Okay.
Right, DB, and I'm thinking, I mean,
Could be the
Or
anchor
the
tenant.
very isolated to, yeah, the most of the most commercial districts that we have.
Yeah.
How would that be any different than, processing of any other commodity? To the outside world?
It wouldn't. It would be like any other manufacturer.
I mean, you could have a distillery here.
My concern is
Yeah.
they take that money, they come to the town, they pay taxes.
So-
They can't have a bank account.
Do we allow distilleries or?
Sure.
It's a money laundering
We-
issue.
we-
What, under home
It
occupation?
Sorry.
But the only concern on, let's say, manufacturing or testing is gonna be truck traffic.
That's
A
the money.
lot of truck traffic, a lot of movement there.
But you got with the same thing with any,
Yeah, we'll probably have more,
Manufacturing facility.
the turnover is gonna be so fast, especially with testing.
I
okay.
testing won't be
I think the
so
issue
bad.
that we
But I
really
think
have to
that
address is,
manufacturing would be.
what are we gonna do with these?
Like a rental machine or something.
and what is the town gonna do?
There is
And I think
the
the
Canadian
appropriate
order
discussion
issue, I don't know.
is
Right.
where
I've
Jamie's
heard
gonna,
that from a number.
where do we put them?
So
What's
we're
those?
talking about transport,
Well,
waste and odor.
I think I have another big question is
Well,
that
wait,
Growing,
If-
growing is the same.
if we,
Well, less so, not you.
through the chair, if we don't make a decision on this, are we stuck with, does the law allow these uses if it's not banned, if we don't have a moratorium? I'm wondering if we should do the moratorium to buy some time.
Let me, if we do not, if we do not have regulations
Yeah.
that we can fall back on, we can put in a moratorium. I believe we can have 280-day moratoriums,
Mhm.
back to back, so we're looking at 1 year. So for argument's sake, I'm gonna say February 1st of 2019. If we do not have regulations in effect at that time, we just became the wild, wild west. And
So-
whatever they want is what's gonna happen,
So
because
we
we're
have
not
to
gonna be
wait
able
for
to
that.
regulate it.
Maybe.
It depends on what the state says, but we don't know.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, the state's not gonna tell us anything when it comes down to land use.
That's correct.
The state is only gonna be dealing with licensing issues. We're gonna deal with land use. When it comes to land use, what we did with agriculture is a perfect example. We said agriculture is growing of crops except for marijuana. We said manufacturing is the processing of materials except for marijuana. You put that, except for marijuana, in every one of those situations, you have.
Retail.
Retail, same sort of thing. And that's all it takes.
Good, so,
We
That's all
could,
it takes.
but that's
You
an
can work
outright
backward,
ban.
you can start there, and then
Yeah.
work backwards.
What's what?
That's an outright ban.
well,
Yeah, but if the town
it was,
survey wants us to ban it, then that's exactly what we do.
Of
That's what
course,
I'm trying to
that's-
say something.
But that's the easy solution if the town says, yes, let's do this. What if the town says no? Do we wait until we find out from the town what they want us to do, or do we start working on it beforehand? That's my question.
My question first is what I've been trying to get at for the last different times.
What do you want, Marty?
Simple and plain. If you're gonna do the survey, you're gonna have to have a description. We have not even talked about that before. what we're gonna do. You have to have a description of what manufacturing is, so the people can make an honest decision of what it is.
Yeah, that goes.
Before you start going on and on about what we might do is, but we have to have at least a definition.
We do have to have a definition, we do have to come up with.
That's exactly what I was trying to get at, Marty.
I thought we covered that.
No, we talked about the types, but we never have a definition.
Well, we just talked about that it's a manufacturing, the processing of marijuana for consumable, products. That's basically it. That's all it is. It's a reduction of marijuana for consumable products, whether it be oils, whether it be edibles, whether it be,
That's what processing
put
is.
it on paper. That's the-
But half the time when you turn on also doing your processing or anything else, you are already doing your testing. Because you aren't gonna ship it out and wonder what it is. It's gonna be tested first to get the quality.
Actually, Marty, they are going to have it tested by third parties.
There will be testing.
They have to do they do their own testing as part of production, but they will use third-party testing services.
Okay, but most of the people in town, okay, including myself, have been dumb and ignorant about all this, what it involves, entails, and everything else.
Marty, I understand completely, that's exactly why I was trying to start with, let's break it down into what are the components?
What's a part of this bigger industry?
Yeah, I mean, we got 5 pieces, and can we grab one?
Sure, let's define what one of them is.
All right, a social club would be it would be a meeting place where individuals are permitted to consume marijuana products and byproducts in a group setting, right? With
And I believe there may even be a definition.
There is a definition, the definitions have already been established in the legislation.
By
Okay.
That was part of the legislation.
Okay.
Have we seen it?
Um,
We asked if there's anything that you're supposed to have meetings and everything else. We have any definitions, and we haven't seen anything. Instead of us just spinning our wheels here.
Okay, but can we just, Marty, I understand your point, and we definitely need to get that, but social club is defined in the legislation, that badly or not. What are the board's thoughts on whether or not we should have social clubs, and if so, where? I mean, one of my personal big concerns is, should a social club be allowed in a location that has a liquor license?
I don't think it's allowed, it's not allowed to,
It's not allowed by the law.
by the law.
It's not allowed by the law?
No.
Oh, okay, easy, thanks, okay.
Didn't know that, did you?
No, obviously.
The legislation has it already, but we don't know,
It was in the legislation that was voted on and passed.
Correct.
Okay, all right, but we haven't talked, what does anybody else think about whether or not we should have social clubs? And if so, what districts?
Marty, should we have social clubs? Should we allow people to gather together in a specific
and
location
pay?
and consume marijuana?
Well,
Or products.
purchase and
Purchase and
consume on site.
Yeah, basically
In a public
marijuana
venue.
tavern.
Right.
Marijuana tavern,
Marijuana, yeah,
think of it in those.
should they be allowed?
personally,
Yes.
You're on
I
this
mean,
board, yes.
yeah, but personally,
Yeah.
I've never seen one, I don't know what one's like.
Nobody's ever seen
Picture a
one.
bar that doesn't have beer taps, instead it's got a hookah.
That's what I was thinking.
I saw the same thing.
A hookah?
A hookah. Yeah, it's a pipe with a bunch of,
Where the hell were you in the sixties?
dude, you did not experience the sixties in the right fashion.
Basically, it's
Do
really.
Bomb.
Do you
Don't worry,
think?
Marty, neither
A
did I.
bong, yes.
Bomb, okay.
Okay,
Hookah, no.
A hookah is a bomb with like 8 or 12
Tentacles.
tubes, tentacles coming off of it, okay?
So it's a water pipe, actually, yeah.
Should,
That's what
should
a
you
bong
be
is.
allowed to go into a marijuana tavern
Yes, they are.
and consume?
Yes.
Okay. Jamie?
I'm not in favor of that.
Roger?
Personally, I'm not in favor of it, but it's no different than having Bentley's Saloon down the street where I can sit down and have a couple of cocktails and drive off in my car. So I'd say let them have it.
Okay. Chip?
I think that they can go to Bedford.
Okay. Tom?
I agree with what you said, Roger, and I even think it's probably, I've seen fights break out in many bars, I don't think you'd be seeing that in Okemos. It's
You know,
just getting mellow.
the thing I'm in favor of is for the federal
Maybe.
government to approve it throughout the country and tax it like alcohol.
But the,
Because you're
but-
gonna have
should be
these
taxed.
conflicts within states like we have in Colorado, we're gonna have the same thing here.
but this,
It-
this
this
lays, this lays out, this lays out the
If it's
dilemma.
legal to consume, then I think I'm all right with it being a
But-
social
but-
club.
Right? This is the dilemma that we face, not only as a board, but as a town. We're split as a board, 3-3.
Yeah.
There are 3 of us that don't think it's a good idea, and there are 3 of us that think that it's a good idea. Or we may not think it's a good idea, but we say, well, if the citizens want it, okay, we'll have to, we have to come up, if the citizens want it, we have to come up with some kind of
Lot
regulation.
unknowns. Yeah.
I'm absolutely opposed to it, but if the citizens say, we wanna have it, then we're gonna have to come up with regulations that allow it. And the question becomes, how do we do it? Do we define hours? Do we define
Right.
locations? What do we
Yeah.
define? Do we say you can have it in this district and not in that? These are the issues that we're
Right.
faced with. These are the things that I think we need to start working
One-
on before.
One thing that I'd be in favor of is starting out very restrictive and then easing off afterwards. Because we don't know. We don't know what's gonna work. We don't know whether it's just gonna be another building along the one that you don't even notice unless you
Yeah.
know about it.
Chip raises a good point in terms of the production facility or the lab testing facility. Those are, they could generate a fair amount of tax revenue for the town.
It could, but I'd rather see the town pursuing other types of tax,
Like what?
Anything,
manufacturing, I don't know,
This is manufacturing.
It is manufacturing.
Yeah.
that's the issue.
Through the chair, if I could ask a question, I mean, see, I think this illustrates what, we're gonna be going in circles again and again and again until we find out how our citizens feel.
Yep.
You know,
We can work
Definition.
really hard on manufacturing, Chip, and it makes sense, and the citizens say, we don't want that here, we want social clubs. So I think we need to get a feel
Yeah.
from our citizens, what they want, what they don't want.
I agree, and I think we just take the definitions out of the state law,
Right.
and get input, but I mean, to me, it seems that all of this should be restricted, let me put it a different way. None of this should be in residential zoning.
I agree.
I agree.
Wait a
think that
minute,
will
now
go-
wait a minute, I have a question. When you say residential zoning, you got the R1, you got the R2, you got the R3, that's all residential zoning.
Right.
Okay, but the fact is, but we can also turn around and put a town hall in the residential zoning.
Marty,
No, wait, no, let me
No,
finish,
no,
let me finish.
No, I will not let you finish. You're out of order.
No, I want to finish.
You're out of order. It has, what the selectmen choose to do has got nothing to do with the discussion about marijuana and where we allow it or don't allow it in this town. The fact that the selectmen have decided that they want to ignore the land use ordinance is completely
And
irrelevant.
the comprehensive plan and everything else.
What I was trying to get at, fact is, if you have a large enough lot, okay, that's where I was trying to go at.
The discussion up here is that we don't allow it in residential zones. Period. Now, if you want to take the position that you should be allowed to have it in a residential zone, that's fine. You brought up the town hall. It's completely irrelevant to the
It's
discussion.
a residential
It
zone.
is irrelevant to the discussion. We can't control what the Board of Selectmen choose to do.
Which they proved.
Yeah, well, I'm opposed to it being a residential district all over town. Even regardless how much land, if they have 90 acres, it's still, it's,
Well, that would beg the question, do you impose on the cottage industry of medical marijuana? Do you impose that? Because right now, we only allow that in the business district. Would that apply to medical marijuana is my question.
Yes, it should.
Okay. Then, basically, there's one thing, the group would be pretty much in favor of not letting such facilities of any marijuana production or manufacture occurring in residential districts.
And we need to make sure that whatever the questionnaire is, makes clear that we're not talking about the
Personal
personal use exemption, because that is happening everywhere anyway, and
I think the questionnaire would really be very simple. Here's the definition of manufacturing. Do you support commercial manufacturing, and this is all commercial manufacturing of marijuana products in the town of Arundel? The second one being, do you support the creation of marijuana testing facility? Definition, as Marty says, that we should, we agree with that. And just go down the list. There might have to be a couple subdivisions in a few places, but it would be that simple of a questionnaire.
Yeah.
And then the question is the delivery. Survey monkey, there's issues, straw poll, turnout
Okay.
issues, sending notices to all taxpayers.
I
all
think
property
that's the
owners.
best approach to see on that.
But can I throw out one other thing which I think is important? I think it'd be worth finding out what people think, people on the board think about retail sales. Should any place that can sell beer be allowed to sell reefers?
are they allowed to?
I'm not sure.
It's a special license that you get. It's not, it's a licensing issue with the state.
I understand it's a licensing,
But I don't think-
I'm just saying, well, I mean,
Go pick up.
can anyone with a storefront for other, whatever else, whether it be cookies or whatever, can they sell marijuana and marijuana byproducts? Is that something?
With no license, technically, yes, there does that.
Okay.
Should we, do you think the town should allow retail sales of marijuana and its products?
Yeah.
Jamie?
No.
Roger?
No.
No.
Tom?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
it's
didn't
legal,
see-
as long, it's regulated.
I'll tell you right now up front, I'm gonna come down on no on every one of these issues. I'm willing to work on the ordinances and try to come up with whatever it is. If the town says they wanna have it, it's part of my job to work on that ordinance and to develop the best ordinance we can. I'm opposed to it, absolutely across the board.
But my personal take is the retail sales has all the problems that you've discussed. It has organized crime, and it's my problem with the social club as well. Organized crime elements and totally uncontrollable and,
You know, I don't really see it that way. I see it as being, I would like to, if it was my way, I'd say wherever it's sold, that's all they sell. It can't be in, a
Convenience store.
Convenience store. But I think, I haven't
I
heard
think
much
that's the only way it can be
of
sold.
Colorado has been problems. It's so regulated and
oh,
controlled.
it's completely mob control.
It is.
They
Yeah, and they will tell you so.
had a lottery of 300 licenses, and the mob got 299 of them.
You mean the cartel?
Cartel, whatever, I mean,
I have a classmate who got one of those. He's a kingpin on it.
There are-
in Colorado.
There are issues, but these are the kinds of things that we have to grapple with.
Right. The town has to grapple with it.
Yeah,
They
the
really-
town has to.
The town, this board grapples with it, but the town has got to grapple with
And
this.
from a land use perspective, I think it's easy to say, none of them in any residential
Yeah.
district.
I agree, I think
Yeah,
that's a very
right.
easy call to make.
That's a good start.
In a business district, okay.
Yeah.
And
Even
we,
there.
and even there, we may wanna look at it and
Yeah.
say, which
Probably
business
not
district?
townhouse
District.
corners, but-
Townhouse corner,
Yeah.
gateway,
Yeah,
I don't know.
you know, I don't know.
Wings could be a perfect location.
where all the vacation is.
The old Wings.
How about next door to the landing school?
Oh, I like that idea.
I also
That's our
should,
floor.
Good for the cows.
That's
our
I also should mention that although most agricultural production of marijuana does occur within controlled environment, there are those who will wanna do it outside as well.
Yeah.
I will tell you, because we've had inquiries, a guy, was coming, garden centers is another thing. Garden, paraphernalia, associated paraphernalia. I've talked to a guy
You can't regulate that.
who wants a marijuana garden center, which basically is focused on marijuana production. And they will have marijuana plants there that they'll.
To show and tell.
They'll give it away. You can buy their book on how to grow marijuana, which is like $25 for it.
But also too, there'll be also on your,
Well,
On
but,
their
but
photo.
hold on, I don't care whether you're giving it away or selling it, that's retail sales.
It's still retail sales of the product. And if you're saying that you want it in a business zone only, then it would be a garden center in a business zone.
And those are the kinds of things that we'll have to look at.
Yeah.
oh, Bud
We'll
LaGrove.
also
Okay,
have to
so
look at the issue
so
of
retail sales needs to include seeds as well as,
Everything. Everything.
including.
Lights.
It-
Water.
We're also
No,
gonna have to
paraphernalia,
look at
Who
the
cares?
concept of how many in a district or how close should they be
Well,
together,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, you could do.
We regulate taverns from being side by each.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do that with these?
No, we don't.
We don't regulate taverns as side by each?
We have no regulations on our towns. We haven't gotten
I
to
know we
that,
haven't.
remember?
we don't have, taverns can't be too close to churches.
Okay, okay. And
That's a
this,
state thing, that's a licensing issue.
but those are
Unlike
issues.
Houston, where I once saw a church, a bank, and a strip joint side by side, and I thought, this is a miracle of zoning.
Was this in Houston,
Go
did
to
you say?
Amsterdam.
Yeah,
Houston has no zoning.
I know that,
Okay.
that's my point.
Gentlemen, remember that on Saturday, we have a site walk
Yeah.
at
Yes.
Billy Stilfon's
Yeah.
at 9 o'clock.
Which I will be at as in a butter, not as a board member. So don't forget that part.
Next week, on the 13th, we have an executive session with the town attorney.
I
I heard of it.
Make that. Look up.
Anyway, was that on our agenda here?
That's gonna be advertised.
Where's that?
The agenda.
Yeah, but it doesn't say.
Doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
That's the
Now,
first
we had
person I heard
discussed
of it.
this. We
We
discussed
discussed this
this
2
at the
weeks
last meeting.
Yeah, but dates,
So, we'll have a 6 o'clock meeting with the town attorney.
6 o'clock?
And that's.
That was the one we were hoping to have on
Because
the 29th.
originally, we had said we were gonna have one on the 29th.
Right.
And she came back to us around the 20th or 22nd of the month, going, no, I can't do that then.
And it'll be the next meeting?
Sorry, when is
Next
this?
meeting will.
The 13th?
We'll have a executive
The
session.
13th is at
That's in
6.
regards
At 6
to,
o'clock, we have an executive session to discuss that.
We have
person
their
that's showing up on the
application, I received
27th.
their application, and we're gonna ask her advice on how to proceed with it.
so,
Because we can't follow our normal procedures.
yeah.
Because
Where's it gonna be?
our home rule power has been conceded away, and so what do we do? How do we do things so we don't violate the consent?
I wish I
So
could
so
be
the
there.
executive session's at the,
No, it's gonna be here.
oh, yeah, okay.
Just ask them questions and how do we do this?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because there's, it's
all right.
pretty hamstrung.
A plain reading of the consent decree? We have a choice, we have to give them a permit. That's what the consent decree says.
Well, and yet, we're still
And
supposed,
yet, there's something else.
we're supposed to go through the process, you know, but what process? That's what we have to ask. What is the point? Because somebody's gotta give it, because they have to have a permit locally.
I'm sorry, Ted, I understand,
Yeah, I know you
I wasn't criticizing
I
you.
know you. It's a frustrating situation, because we don't.
But my question is, if you have state violations, where do you go?
That's an interesting issue, because even according to the consent decree.
Well, let's not discuss this now.
Yeah, you
We're gonna
read
discuss
the
it.
consent decree.
We're gonna discuss it at the meeting with DuBois, and we're gonna discuss it,
Yeah.
you know, how we're supposed to proceed.
That's the purpose.
So
of
you're
our-
not biased?
The purpose of our meeting the attorney is to discuss how we're supposed to proceed from here.
Yeah, that's basically, which we wanted to do a month ago, 2 months ago. Say, what, how are we supposed to do this thing where we're handcuffed, basically? How do we do this, how do we give a permit? So, we wanted to do this, what, a month or so ago, but now it's happening now, so.
Okay.
Okay?
Sign
Signing
wants to
Mylars?
sign?
No, wait a minute, next, don't we have to have an election?
Next
No,
meeting, we
next
decided to
meeting.
do that.
Oh.
Remember, Sim recommended at the very beginning of the meeting that we wait.
Okay.
You were here, weren't you, Chip?
I was here, and I thought I asked a question, I was trying to get.
That was you who did ask
This
the
wasn't a
question.
regular meeting, that this was a workshop.
Yeah, the bylaws simply say a meeting. They don't say,
So how did you get around that? What finesse did you use to,
Basically it said, we're gonna listen to the bylaws right now. That's basically what happened, okay? You know, that's what happened.
Unanimous agreement to suspend the bylaws.
Suspend the bylaws. Yeah, this is,
Until-
we can use a regular pen on it.
Do we gotta go in order?
I don't think it matters.
This is,
When was this approved, was this the last meeting or two?
Two, you weren't here.
I
You weren't here.
Oh,
You
You
can't
voted.
sign. You're even,
Yeah.
wow, you're lucky you. Is my plan set? Oh, this is just my plan set.
third line down.
Oh, no, I need one approval bond, I need one of those. Forgot about this.
how many do we have to sign?
There'll be, there's 2 paper copies there, there's the Mylar here, and there's the plan set here.
okay, we got 4, we need one more.
One more pen? Here, I got blue pen.
I do appreciate
Blue pen
your,
for.
Hold on.
your amendments, I really do.
Oops, sorry.
How many pages are we
Oh,
supposed to sign?
And that
I
one,
can-
just that page.
I can take it and I can dish it out. That's what I tell Henry all the time.
There you go.
You can't take it, keep your mouth shut.
Oh, you took it. All right.
How many copies, there's just one?
Did you sign all, Marty?
No,
No,
there's,
I'm trying to play hop, skip, and jump.
yeah, there's 2
It's like
copies.
playing, it's like, oh, there's 2 copies in there?
Yeah, there's 2 copies there, 2 copies here, and the Mylar.
And you only gave me one.
2 copies of the plan set?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, there's 2 signature boxes, the second one down has a signature box on it as well.
We got the first one
Everybody sign this one? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that one's done. Feels like 2 pieces. Sort of like signing a declaration, huh?
There you go.
But you won't get alcohols.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Get out of there now?
10:10, all right, 9:50.
9:50.
Done.
Oh, I haven't gotten down there
Oh, you
yet.
haven't gotten that one?
No.
Here you go, Ted.
Okay.
You better hurry up.
I will
Ted's
send,
leaving.
I don't care. I don't get signed then. Can't get there, can't get there.
I will send you guys, notes on the, next agenda next week, if that's all right.
All right. You guys have a
You
good
want
night.
these, Marty?
Okay,
Yeah.
Check out library book.
no, that thing was on.
I'm gonna check out the Life is a Wonderful Fairy Tale.